hello there. What is happening, chat? There we go. Gonna take some time to get used to that new volume control, honestly. Now it's just extremely quiet. Yo, hold up, right. Hang on. Wait, it might be louder for you than it is for me. Is that alright, that volume? I think it probably is. It could probably be a bit louder. Let's try... Oh, let's try that. Okay, what about 70? What the fuck? Now it just doesn't sound like it's going up at all. Okay. Well, I think that's fine. Anyway, hello everyone. How's it going? It's great to see you all here. It's great to see me here. Welcome to the late stream. Oh, I'm sorry, Birdie. Hey, listen. You enjoy that therapy, mate. You enjoy that therapy. Get as much of it out of it as you can. Anyway, hello. I'm here. It's Thursday. I'm late. I'm sorry. This week has been very... but I'm finally back to normal, and things should be back to normal now as of next week. So probably what's going to happen is the Gandalf cosplay stream and Lord of the Rings, and also the public domain movie night is probably going to be next week. It's just been an horrible week after everything that's gone on this month, being sick, or, you know, nonsense, people being fucking twats to me, and all that shit. Just, my fucking sleeping pattern has been way out of whack. So that was all fucked up on Tuesday. And then, yesterday, just had some horrible stuff with my partner as well. Not horrible stuff between us, but she had some horrible stuff done to her. So yeah, I had to be there for her, really. It's not too serious. It's just one of those things. I don't want you all to be like, oh my god, what happened? It was pretty nasty, but she's fine, she's good, and she's safe, and that's what counts, right? So anyway, let's say hello to everybody who's here. Prince Infidel, thank you so much for the 7 months, or the 8 months, actually. It's actually an 8-month sub, that. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Welcome back in. It's great to see you too. Shafiq, hello. How are you doing, lovely? Good to see you. Hell to Pay, hello. We got Vord as well. We got Cryptid is over Crypto. Good to see you. Welcome back. We got Odnon. We got Birdie Blake. Hello, Birdie. Who else do we got? We got Vexing Thoughts. Welcome in, Vexing Thoughts. We got Cynthia. Cynthia with fair new pronouns. Love that for you. Good for you. We got Goblin. How you doing, Goblin? Shafiq, can I get a shout out for Goblin Hugger, please? And we got the Pungeon Master. G'day from Dan Ander. The YouTube algorithm's got my eyes on your YouTube channel, and I binged your content. It's great. Love to see an open bearded bi guy doing work. That's right. Welcome in. How are you doing? That is one benefit of people, do you know what I mean, actually being pieces of shit on my content, not being able to help themselves. It does actually drive me up in the algorithm. So good to meet you, Pungeon Master. How's it going? Persona said, mate, that beard is a choking hazard. Good God. And you'd be surprised, that's actually what your dad said about my penis. And now you're timed out for 24 hours. The last time that you chatted in chat, Persona, you also made a comment about my beard. And it's quite clear in the rules that I don't like people making comments about my appearance. It's pretty rude. Don't do that in general. Maybe try again tomorrow. Give that another go tomorrow, mate. Because, you know, if you'd have said that to me in public, I think you'd find that everyone that I was with and me would have turned around and said, who the fuck are you? That's how that would have gone. You know, I like to imagine my streams as like a sort of lecture theatre. Not saying that I'm a professor or anything like that, but like, you know, I'm the one doing the talking, you're the ones doing the listening, but you're also engaging in your own way, and I kind of get to choose which one of you know, gets sort of, you know, publicly allowed to engage because I read your comment out. And if you'd have said that in like a crowded lecture theatre, I think most people would turn around and been like, shut up, you weirdo. So that's kind of how you have to think of it. You know what I mean? Like, remember, I'm a human, you're a human. You have to try and remember it, that's reality. You know what I mean? Even though there's a keyboard and a, you know, stuff like that in the way. Anyway, who else do we got here? You got a job. Welcome done. Well done. Well done, Cryptid. That's good to hear. Hey, Middle-earth Marxist, what's going on? Welcome in. Hello, 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 hello. Hey, Mr. Dank, how's it going? Very happy to hear that most, well, I hope most people in Florida did all right with the hurricane. Who else we got? Mr. Fishy, Rebel Firestorm, hello. How are you doing? Good to see you. And that's everyone. I've got everyone, I think. Momero, hello. Welcome in. How are you doing? What class were you in Elden Ring Mule? I'm a samurai. Can't remember. I think I chose the knight. I think I chose the knight. I think that's what I chose. Hello, Christine. Welcome into the stream. How are you doing? See, now that's a normal chat message, isn't it? Someone just being like, hey, hey, hey. That's nice. That's a nice normal. A little variant on the standard hey. That's nice. That's, you know, a bit playful. Yeah, lovely. Completely inoffensive. Nice to meet you. Hope you're doing all right. It's nice to see you set boundaries, respect. Look, the way that I see it is, like I said, it's like, you know, that's the kind of vibe it is. It's kind of like stand-up comedy. It's kind of like a lecture. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's all this stuff, isn't it? Right? Not that I'm good at stand-up comedy. I would be fucking terrible at it, I think. What else do we got? Mule as a knight would be really cool, I think. Yeah, you did me as like a rogue in the graphics for the Trans Power Red Planet stream, and that was really cool. That was really, really cool. I like that because I didn't expect that someone would see me as a rogue, you know, with like 2 daggers or something like that. But that's quite cool. Yeah, I like that. It wasn't so bad here, but Fort Myers Beach got pretty much wiped off the map. I think a friend of mine lost his house. Damn, that fucking sucks. Oh my god, I hope that isn't the case. Really hope that isn't the case. Shit. He's out of town, so can't confirm. You wouldn't act like that in a pub. If you're barred from a pub, it's not a violation of your human rights. Yeah, it is. It's kind of like a pub, innit? It's like a pub where someone's doing stand-up comedy. That's kind of what's going on. You know, stand-up comedy, but he's not that funny. And everyone's just kind of, you know, bored. Everyone's just kind of bored, sitting there going, God, this guy can talk for England. And he's what an extremely tedious thing I just had to listen to. Had to run all the accessories past Sophie first. I'm glad they all turned out, but some people just look really cool in armor. Hell yeah, absolutely. You know, I always said to myself, if I got married, I think a really cool thing to do would be to wear like a Lord of the Rings style suit of armor. You know, like sort of like it's not too masculine. Do you know what I mean? But still a bit masculine presenting kind of thing, or just maybe kind of gender neutral, because clothes shouldn't really be thought of too much like that. But I do, you know what I mean? I'm happy in my masculinity kind of thing. So, you know, you know what I mean, Birdie, right? Like something like what Aragorn wears at the end. He's got that like chainmail sleeve thing on with the tree and the stars on. You know, something nice and silver like that or whatever. You know what I mean? I think that would be quite cute, wouldn't it? Rather than a suit, because I don't like suits. You know, suits have never been, you know, I just don't like it. Suits to me are kind of like elitist. And I guess in a way suits of armor were probably elitist back in the day, but they're not necessarily as seen as that anymore, are they? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, masculine but shiny and fab, you know, with lots of little accessories and, you know, glittery stuff. Yeah. That's kind of that's kind of the vibe that I'd be going for if I got married. Sounds like my dream pub. One of the last times someone said you look like Limmy. You're Scottish, so wearing the kilt can be masculinist without the generic binary of suits. Yep, absolutely. That's what I'm thinking. It's never been my strong suit. That's right, Pungent Master. That's right. Big gay armor. Yeah. Also, the silly thing of being able to rent a suit but having to buy a dress. Oh, yeah. Yeah, shit. That's, you know what, Birdie? I've never thought about that. Obviously, because I'm a man. Why would I have to think about that? You know, according to the patriarchy. Hello, how am I saying your name? Dam Piranima. Is that how you say it? Dam Piranima? I think I've seen armor suits like that. Welcome into the stream. I hope you're doing well. There's lots of different, like, really cool suits of armor. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, cool. There's lots of pretty cool suits of armor in the Lord of the Rings series and shit like that, you know? Trying to get some big NB energy with vests and ties. Got all the pals here as per usual. Hell yeah, we do. Vests and ties is an interesting one. Yeah, absolutely. That's a thing that I personally wouldn't do, and that's not because I think it looks bad or anything. It's just kind of not my style. But I love seeing, you know, gender binary deconstructed in the form of fashion. Like I actually love that a lot. I think just some of the looks that people are serving nowadays are super good. Really like it, you know. There's that new drag queen who won RuPaul's, and I don't watch drag queens. I'm not, you know what I mean? It just doesn't interest me. But you know, I'll watch Trixie and Katya when Lena is watching it, my partner. And fucking Katya was in Pink News about having a go at that new queen who won, and it's because their kind of style is very grungy and messy. And I was a bit upset about that, really, because I think that, you know what I mean, like, Katya's being a bit elitist there, and I've always liked Katya. I think she's dead funny, but whatever. If I had the time, I would design a bunch of cool gender fuckery fantasy outfits. Yeah, that'd be real nice. You're gonna do a vest and bow tie for your brother's wedding in January. I guarantee that'll look phenomenal. NB Energy with sweater vests now, please. I'll lead the charge. Yeah, let's fucking go, Adnan. Yeah, sweater. I love a sweater vest, actually. A sweater vest is very sort of non-binary, isn't it? Like, it's very interchangeable. A sweater vest. You rented your first kilt to make sure you'd be comfortable with it. After it, I knew I needed to buy one. Let's fucking go. They don't suit me. That's right, Cryptid. That's fucking right. You're spot on there. Miss D's Nuts, how's it going? Welcome in. Sup indeed. I like that emote. I like that emote. Any variation of the arrive emote is very good. Very, very good. I'd wear a wedding dress just for daily wear, not for a wedding. Now, that is shit I can get behind. 1000%. You know, like, it's such a horrible thing, isn't it? Like, you have to buy this dress and you wear it for one day, and all of the responsibility for that is placed on the woman, right? You know, the femme person who's gonna wear it, and you wear it for one fucking day of your life, and then never again. It's so mad. And you know, that's why you hear about, like, people say, oh, I found my mum's wedding dress in the loft. What a weird thing. And, you know, groom's suits are not that expensive. And they don't even have to, like, you could probably get, like, more detailed custom groom suits. But generally speaking, when you see a groom and the best man and the second best man or whoever, do you know what I mean? Like, etc., right? You see kind of like, they're wearing the same. Like, it's just the same. It's either the same style or they're wearing the same suit or whatever, right? I just think that's just so shit. Patriarchy, innit? Was talking about patriarchy today. I went on a cool mission today, chat. An extremely cool mission. So, my sister rang me early this morning. And like I said, my sleeping pattern's still fucked, so I wasn't awake. But I got up about 1. And I've rang her back and she said, oh my God, can you go to such and such a place? There's a place in town. It's our anniversary, me and my partner's anniversary. And I need you to fucking go and get this thing from fucking posh shop, dead posh shop, really posh perfume it was, right? There's only like one of them left in the country or something because it got dead popular. I've never fucking heard of it before. You know me. If I can get out the house and just avoid coming into contact with people who might get close enough to smell me, I've had a good day. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what the brand. I forget it. I've even forgot it now. I just turned up to the shop and I was like, right, it's this name. Blah, blah, blah. You know, so I went down to my mum's, and her partner was there. Her wife was there, and we were chatting and we were talking about toxic masculinity and stuff. and she runs like a prop making company. They make props, right? For, you know, shows, theatre shows, basically. So sometimes for music videos and that, you know, and sets and all this stuff. And she was saying that, like, today when she was at work, she said, "Oh, we've got two women who were, you know, basically doing all the work and stuff, and one of them is like our best carpenter, like literally like the best carpenter we've ever had, so good at work, like really, like, you know, she does work everywhere, all over the world. She's like well known in the industry, right? And, you know, another person who's like a proper good like soft worker and stuff, like, you know, is amazing at softs and stuff like that, and they just didn't quite have the tools that they needed at the show, or not the show, at the prep today, the pre-show, pre-production stuff, to actually, like, you know, do a job that they needed. And they were struggling a little bit, but they were going to do it. And, you know, my sister's wife had full faith in them, because why wouldn't she? You know what I mean? She knows who they are. And this guy, who I think she said was like a tech guy or something, came up to him and was like, "Oh, we've got a jigsaw there in the back. You're probably better off doing it with that, probably." And, you know, they're all like looking at him like, "Who the fuck are you, pal?" And so he's brought it out, and he's been like, "No, if you just do it like this, it's probably..." And, you know, the carpenter's like, "Don't fucking touch my shit, you fucking idiot." You know, like, just let me do it. Tries it with a jigsaw, it doesn't work, right? And she's like, "No, you know, I'm fine. I don't need your help, actually. Like, I'm fine." And then he's like, "Oh, we've got a rail saw in the back, actually. Got a rail saw." And at this point, my sister's wife is like, "Listen, we don't need your help, pal. Like, you know, we're professionals. We know what you're doing. We know what we're doing. Leave us to it." Right? And he goes, "Oh, no. You know, I'll go get it." Like, how can you, after that, how can you... I would be embarrassed. I would actually be embarrassed. I would be like, "Oh, yeah, you know what? That is stupid." But that is just because he was a man, and he saw some women who he thought, "Oh, they can't do this job, and they're not doing it right because they're women," and felt the need to come over to him and be like, "Actually, I know how to do that better than you. And I've got a tool that can do that in the back." Like, mental. Absolutely mental. I just, you know what I mean? It's extremely obvious mansplaining, isn't it? Like, very, like, so obvious. Like, that's like, oh, God. So, anyway. Just another day in the patriarchy, innit? Hello, Lamont01. Welcome to the stream. I'm getting lots of nice first-time chatters today. This is nice. My mum's wedding dress is in a box in the attic. It's mad, innit? Absolutely mad. And no, I've never heard of Penhaligon's. I'd never heard of the brand of perfume that my sister got her wife. No idea. Absolutely no idea. I absolutely adore the wedding outfit from Violet Evergarden. I'm going to post it in the Discord. Well, let's have a look at that. Oh, okay. Well, it's like an anime thing. Yeah, this is cute. This is cute as fuck. And this is pretty much gender neutral, I'd say. Right? That's pretty gender fucking neutral. Let me just show you real quick. Hang on. Let's have a look here. How do I get this up? I've not streamed in weeks. Right, there you go. Whoop. Yeah. That's divine. I love that shit. If you could recreate that in real life. Now, you know what? You know, I was saying, oh, you know, I don't really feel the need to dress envy and stuff like that just because it's just not my style. But I tell you what I have been thinking about recently. High heels. Not like stiletto types, but, you know, like high heel boots. Because, you know, like the whole thing about like high heel boots were actually invented by men because they wanted to appear taller and more powerful and stuff like that. I was thinking, like, actually, I think that would be really cool to get a pair of boots like that. I think that would be really nice. So I've been thinking about that. But anyway, this is really nice. I like this. You were at your sister's wedding. The groom, me, and the rest of the men agreed to wear different tartans in the kilts. Everyone agreed that everyone looking the same sucks with tartan. I like that, Master of the Art. That's pretty good, isn't it? Hey, Smutty Baba Yaga, what's going on? Imagine if after Jigsaw he came out with a saw trap. That would be a funny abstract sort of world we live in, wouldn't it? That would be a nice, funny little, you know, what do they call it? Whimsical. What a lovely whimsical world that would be in. That we'd be in if that happened. That would be funny. But that didn't happen. Thanks. This chat was recommended to me on Twitch. I always love to join a leftist stream. Well, we're happy to have you, Lamont. Good to see you. Don't think you've seen your mum's wedding dress. Don't think she has one. I mean, some people might actually, like, you know, not keep the wedding dress or whatever. Who knows? They might have had their own homemade wedding dress or whatever. I know that's the thing. Hey, Big Cub, what's going on? I love it, but I'm too fat for that shit. I would argue that no one's too fat for anything, personally. But I can't control how you feel about yourself. Do you know what I mean? And if that is how you feel about yourself, that's fair enough. You know? But I would argue that it's probably just society that makes people think that they would be too fat to do things. And that's not necessarily the case for a lot of people. Personally, that's my personal view from what I've heard from a lot of fat people. Yeah, too fat, challenge accepted, right? Yeah, absolutely. Don't let people tell you you can't fucking do stuff. B-Rat, hello. I'm too dangerous for pants, he says. Well, that's a sentence. that's a phrase. 100%. That's something that you've said in the chat. Welcome in. Oh, God. That Sahu had custom boots that would be like hot a bottle of cognac into events. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Takes a bit to get used to heels. Yeah, listen, I've worn heels before. I have worn heels before. Not chunky heels. I've worn, like I did drag at school. Like, there was a thing where we did drag. And I can't remember what it was, but I wore heels for that. And it was very difficult. And I did break one pair. But I think it's because it was like one of my mum's old ones that she didn't want anymore. And she was like, yeah, you can use that. That's one of the comments ever written. Also, hello, Subided. It's going well. How are you? For your tartan, you went with the purple look. Ace representation. Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's great. Your girlfriend also wore purple. Ace by solidarity. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hey, Husker, how are you doing? What's going on? Right, listen, chat. What forgot to say for you in the stream? What's that? Everyone's wondering what that question, the answer to that question is. I'll answer it for you now. The answer to that question is we're going to be finishing EJ's video on MAGA Communism. We were halfway through it last time in the stream on Monday. We're going to be finishing that today. We're going to be picking up where we left off. The content warnings are still the same. Fascism, bigotry in general. That's the content warning. Again, I'll repeat the warning that EJ put at the start of their video, which was that basically these people are dangerous. Don't interact with them, even though they've got some very silly ideas and they're very wrong about stuff. You can't underestimate the fact that they are actually dangerous, and they will harass, threaten, dox you and stuff like that. So do not engage with them, block them, mute them, educate the community about them, essentially. There are people who are doing, observation of people like, who are doing these, who have these beliefs like MAGA communism and stuff like that. We're talking people like Jackson Hinkle and Haz and Infrared and stuff like that. So yeah, those are the people, basically. Those are the people, essentially, that you want to be watching out for. But if you see any of the little nerds in chats, or if you see one in a Discord or something like that, tell a mod. If the mod doesn't take you seriously, I would argue that that is a community that you need to be wary of, or at least isn't really looking at this stuff. Maybe attempt to try and educate them on what's going on there, because not everybody's going to know this stuff. You know what I mean? Not everyone's going to know this stuff. Just realized how far we are from the living costs goal. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Prince. Yes, because I've not been streaming for the most of this month. I've definitely not reached my living costs goal. It's okay. It's not a nightmare situation. I've got savings there for a rainy day. We hit 389 quid pretty quickly since I've come back to streaming in about 2 streams, so I really appreciate that. Of course, it's the end of the month now, so this is really the last chance you've got to donate to help me during September. It would be good to save the rainy day money for an actual other rainy day, and not just because I wanted to have a break from work for a bit, and also I was sick. I don't, you know, it sucks being self-employed in this fucking country, but that's what it is. So yeah, you know, if you do have money there to spare, if you are financially capable, please consider subbing off Twitch. Donate via the sub off Twitch command in chat, which Vord and Shafiq have both lovingly, kindly posted in there. So yeah. Yeah, you know the score as well, Birdie. We don't get sick pay. We don't get holiday pay. Oh, nonsense. Also, hello, Pat Potato. Missed you in the chat earlier above. How are you doing? What's going on? Is the being sick bit not a rainy day? I would argue that the entire cost of living crisis in the UK is actually a rainy day now. But generally speaking, I kind of refer to a rainy day as like a month where I've just for some reason not been able to make the money that I would normally make. You know what I mean? Like if we don't hit the donos kind of stuff for the month and what have you. And yeah, if you aren't financially capable of supporting the stream, don't worry about that financially. You can just retweet the Go Live tweet, which Shafiq has also put in the chat. Thank you, Shafiq. Appreciate that. Give it a retweet. Doesn't matter if you've got 0 followers. Doesn't matter if you've got 20 million followers. Any kind of retweet, any kind of engagement on the stream is good. Famous Horse. Hello, Famous Horse. How are you doing, Famous Horse? Everybody should go and follow Famous Horse. He's a lovely lad. Lovely, wonderful, massive lad. Not going back over it. We didn't finish it on Monday, so we're going to be finishing it today, hopefully. We're halfway through it. Famous Horse is one of the other leftist streamers that I know who is telling people about this stuff. Of course, my good friend Sophie from Mars, she did the Conspiracy on the Left video. That is another example of someone on the left sort of content creation space talking about MAGA communism. MAGA communism wasn't really as much of a thing back then when she did that video, but certainly the, you know, Caleb Morpin, Haz, Jackson Hinkle, they all were, you know, sort of getting about back then, and she did mention them as well, so it's important to kind of remember that. They are basically conspiracy leftists, and the conspiracy that they have, most of them, is that Jews are running the world. It's anti-Semitism. That's the conspiracy they go for. That's the conspiracy that they go for. So they are just conspiracists and fascists. But anyway, we're going to learn more about it right now. Again, here is a link to the video in the chat right there. Get that clicked. Give EJ a like. Give him a view by muting the video, putting it in the tab, play it alongside the stream, right? And also subscribe, leave a comment, stuff like that. Support our leftist content creator friends. So, should we dive right in? We're gonna dive right in? We're diving in. Right, there it is. Again, content warning. We're talking about some nasty people here. We're talking about, you know, all the trappings of fascism. Every single bit of it. Transphobia, queerphobia in general, you know, racism, you know, anti-Semitism, anti-black racism, all the stuff. It's all in there. You know, pro-imperialism, all that nonsense. It's just very, 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 very shit. So let's crack on. Question about Morpin. Is he actually gone after he exposed a lot of... yes, his naughty red bottom that he likes spanking. So as far as I know, yeah, he's gone. But who knows? He's probably doing stuff in the background. I don't know. Maybe he's still talking to Jackson and Haz and all these people. You know. And also, hello, Buddy Bebop. Welcome as well to the stream, to you. Let's crack on. Let's go.
To self-determination.
So this is where we're at. We're at the bit now where EJ is basically talking about all the stuff that they say about Lenin and communism and Marxism and stuff like that is directly contradicted by the writings and the theories of the people that they say that they are listening to, right? But they don't really say that they're listening to Lenin or Marx or anyone who's done any sort of like communist anarchist theory like Fanon, you know, Kropotkin. They don't actually quote people like that. They quote Alexander Dugin, Lyndon LaRouche, just both extremely horrific fascists. Extremely well.
Sonic will never again be a pain in my egg!
The text-to-speech bot won't actually say that, famous horse, because you're wrong. And, you know, that's just, you're a bad streamer. The bot has recognized that you're just not a good streamer. You should still go and follow famous horse, by the way. You'll get there. But it's just because it has to be 200 bits. Well, thank you for the 100 bits. DJ Gamer Fuel, not a real DJ. That's right. I'm actually not a real DJ, despite the many clips you can find on the internet of me actually DJing. I am not actually a real DJ.
Old chum.
Thank you for the follow. Let's crack on.
Theirs is the old motto of the days of serfdom, autocracy, orthodoxy, and the national essence. The last term applying only to the great Russian nation. Even the Ukrainians are declared to be an alien people, and their very language is being suppressed.
Right.
Sounds a lot like what we do to indigenous people in the USA. I mean, Lenin goes on to explain that repudiation of the right to self-determination, i.e. the
Trash Bingu's payback.
Oh my god, Cryoghoul, thank you so much for the £25.82. Thank you so much for subbing off Twitch, and thank you so much for supporting the stream. We're now at £415.51. That means if we were to get to 700 quid, we would only require £275. And if I do a quick bit of maths, which I can't do because I'm not good at maths in general, I'd probably say just everyone in the stream donate £5 if you can. And we'll probably get there. Probably not. I don't know. You know, maybe it'll work. Whatever. Anyway, let's crack on. Thank you for supporting the stream. Appreciate that.
The rights of nations to secede means nothing more than defense of the privileges of the dominant nation and police methods of administration to the detriment of democratic methods. Lenin also made it clear that workers who live in imperialist nations should not take pride in the imperialist state which rules over them, explaining that there is no pride to be found in a history of attacking and oppressing others.
Right.
Nobody is to be blamed for being born a slave, but a slave who not only eschews a striving for freedom, but justifies and eulogizes his slavery. Such a slave is a lickspittle and a bore who arouses a legitimate feeling of indignation, contempt, and loathing.
Yeah, I mean, that is the, you know, obviously, Lenin is a man who was born in 1914 and possibly never actually came across any real-life slaves in his entire life. He might just be talking about working-class people in general here with this. But, you know, I don't... You know, the way that your psychology changes under... you know, only knowing being a slave and stuff like that. I don't know if he's actually talking about genuine slavery here, but I don't think it's right to say,
Nice.
Hell to pay, thank you so much for the £5.18. We now are at 420.69. It's the weed and the sex number. That's right, that's the one. That's the number. I think, yeah, like, listen, you know, some of you, we've got a few new people in tonight. I'm not that much of a philosopher. I don't read philosophy. I find it hard to read in general. What sort of theory I've picked up has come from videos. I have tried to read Das Kapital, and it's a pretty tough read. You know, it is a genuinely pretty tough read. But I got the gist of it, basically, and you know, people have explained theory to me and stuff like that, so and philosophers, but I think I understand the Plato's cave allegory. It's because you know, Lenin is an easier read than Marx. Yeah, I imagine so, because Marx is a lot of math, isn't it? You know what I mean? I'm just not good at math. Like, as soon as he started talking about lengths of coats and stuff, I knew what he was getting at, but it was just like, oh, yeah, survived, yeah. So you know, in the cave, you only see a snapshot of someone's life. I don't know if that applies to this, but essentially, you know, you can't really... I don't want people to get it twisted, basically. I don't want people to come away from reading this quote and go, oh, yeah, you know, like, if someone was, like, born an actual, genuine like, chattel slave, then that we should, you know, we should feel contempt and loathing towards them. I don't think that that's a good, you know... Because you could read that. You could read that from this, couldn't you? You know what I mean? And go, yeah, fuck them, idiots, right? Completely fair. Philosophy is such a wide topic. Hello, as well. Easy D Live. Welcome in. How you doing? So, yeah, anyway, just wanted to say that about this.
In these passages, Lenin is expressly saying that there is no pride to be found in conquering smaller nations.
Right.
A direct comparison can be drawn easily between Lenin's condemnation of the subjugation of Ukraine and Poland by the Tsar and the United States subjugation and theft of land from the indigenous people of what we now call the USA. Not to speak of the countless bloody and atrocious wars of imperialism which we've waged and are waging against the global South.
I know, yeah, complete surprise. We shouldn't uncritically support or uncritically condemn Lenin. That's right. It's almost like there's nuance to a lot of stuff. It's almost like, you know, it's good to be critical of people, right?
As Marx and Engels wrote, no nation can be free if it oppresses other nations.
That's right.
And the USA is nothing if not a prison of nations. Whether you're referring to the millions of black people who've suffered in privation and indignity since being brought here against their wills as slaves, or the indigenous peoples who even now are viciously oppressed and sequestered on reservations as their native lands are polluted and blighted by settler capitalists. Lenin wrote that Russians cannot defend the fatherland otherwise than by desiring the defeat of the Russian state in any war.
Streamer needs to eat.
I do need sweets. Anonymous, thank you so much for the £5. We're at £425, 69 pence. Thank you so much for subbing off Twitch. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. I appreciate that.
This is the lesser
Hey,
evil
Splotnik, what's going on?
Splotnik of Russia. For Tsarism not only oppresses those 9/10 economically and politically, but also demoralizes, degrades, dishonors, and prostitutes them by teaching them to oppress other nations and to cover up this shame with hypocritical and quasi-patriotic phrases. Sounds exactly like American Patriot Socialism to me. Is this not exactly what the US of A has always done since its very inception?
Right.
The Stars and Stripes have flown over stolen land since day one, and the core tenets of so-called American ideology are rooted directly in teaching the working class to oppress other nations and to cover up this shame with hypocritical and quasi-patriotic phrases, the very phrases and quasi-patriotism that these AMPAT socks are advocating and pushing day in, day out right now.
Right.
By the way, if you want to learn more about the difference between chauvinist nationalism and the nationalism of self-determination for the oppressed peoples, check out Luna's video on the subject. It's real good.
Hell yeah.
And there's a link in the description, probably a card somewhere around here as well that you can click on. Anyway, it's plain to see that the American Patriot Socialists conveniently ignore the actual words and ideas of Marx, Engels, Lenin, and all the other revolutionary communists they claim to represent.
What?
MAGA communism runs directly counter to Lenin's observation that in advancing the slogan of the international culture of democracy and of the world working class movement, we take from each national culture only its democratic and socialist elements. We take them only and absolutely in opposition to the bourgeois culture and the bourgeois nationalism of each nation.
Makes
Isn't
sense.
it clear that American Patriot Socialists are doing the exact opposite of what Lenin demanded? In the
Lenin, look, even the CC is calling Lenin, which just goes to show how deep Karl Marx's Lenin nonsense, Lenin obsession has run through into communist thought, communist video essays and everything. Hello, comrade, clever name. How you doing? Welcome in.
By spouting
welcome to Lenin Tube. That's right.
Bigoted social chauvinist rhetoric of the most reactionary elements of American bourgeois civil society. They're adopting the most reactionary elements of bourgeois culture and the bourgeois nationalism.
No, not Lenin. Lenin. It's Lenin.
Of the USA. And why? Simply so they can appeal to the worst elements of MAGA fascists. Assuming that this isn't all just some big troll or a psyop. I mean, if this whole MAGA communism, American Patriot Socialism shtick is somehow actually sincere, then I can only arrive at one conclusion. These people are really only interested in uniting white cishet people, just like...
Yeah, it's literally like, you know, what they've done is, you know, we're talking about people of privilege, right? We're talking about Caleb Maupin, Jackson Hinkle. From what I've heard, they're quite well off. They're quite well connected. They're privileged, and they're not. They've not actually, you know, done a lot of unpacking of white supremacy and how that affects them and how that skews their ideas and stuff like that. So what they're doing is they're desperate to, you know, change the system. Like, they know that it's wrong, but they're like, okay, well, you know, loads of people in this country are racist. So we'll just be racist like them, and then we can have communism, but you know, the Jews, black people, queers, they can't have any of it, you know, because it would be easier for them somehow. That's what they think. And that's kind of like, you know, when you look at people who say, oh my God, that's too woke, right? You've really got to sort of like sit back and think, okay, why are they saying that? Like, that's too woke, or like some people are going too far in the politics. Like some people are like, you know, being too much of a, I don't know what to say. They're being too sensitive or, and shit like that. You've really got to fucking question where that comes from, you know. You know, it's one of them. Too much equality, right? You know, disabled people in communism, we're the ones who died for the revolution first, right? You know, it's, you know, disabled people don't get talked about in these circles at all. Caleb is salt of the earth working class. He worked at a sandwich shop one summer in uni. Right, exactly. You know, any stuff like that, it's just, yeah, it's just ridiculous. So the Jackson Hinkles dancing while smoking a cigar intercut with Trump dancing. Too lame and unself-aware to be a troll. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm sort of like EJ at the minute. EJ is alluding to the fact that perhaps, you know, these people could just be a psyop, or they could be an attempt from the bourgeois employer class to actually, like, you know, sabotage communism or whatever. Like, you know, I don't know, because the ideas of leftism and, you know, communism, anarchism, anti-fascism are actually like picking up a lot of speed as capitalism sort of like is in free fall at the minute, especially in the UK, right? Especially in the UK. And I'm so fucking glad that there are no movements like that here yet, where they're trying to appropriate, you know, communism and shit like that into reactionary views and reactionary organizations and stuff. But that's, who knows, right? Do you know what I mean? Who knows what is actually going on, like why these people are doing this, like what the... Yeah, it's hard to see. It's hard to, you know... They are a psyop, but they're a self-deputized psyop. I mean, listen, I know what it's like in Famous Horses stream, but with stuff like that, I don't like to say things definitively unless we've actually got any proof. Because, you know, what is the proof that they're a psyop? You know, a self-deputized psyop, do you mean that, like, they've decided that they're going to sabotage the left on their own? Do you think that that's what's going on? Is that what you mean by self-deputized? Hey, Carpe Pax, what's going on? Can I get a shout out for Carpe, please, Shafiq? I might have read you a little wrong there, Comrade Clever Name. I think that you were just trying to say, right, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I could get behind that. Yeah, I could totally get behind that. Like, maybe they just, like, hate communists so much, and actually, in actual fact, they're just bigots. Because, you know, the Nazis did that, right? The Nazis did that. Like, we said that in the last stream. The Nazis, literally, the Nazi Party in Germany in 1940s, they said, okay, yeah, we're going to do all these things for the working class. We're going to build the working class person back up. We're going to give you loads of money. Everyone's going to have a house. Everyone's going to have food, etc., etc., etc. You know? Froggy Fraug, welcome to the stream. Hello, what is MAGA Communism? Well, it's a good job you're here. We're watching a video about it right now. So we're gonna be checking out more of that. They've openly said that they're trying to side up the left and they're working more or less to benefit of the state. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they've said that in interviews where they're trying to appeal to fascists, right? They're trying to appeal to MAGA people. Like, I feel like this is a thing that Jackson Hinkle said on the OAN. Even though they do not work for the state. Right, for sure. Yeah. Well, that's their whole shtick, isn't it? They are very open about, like, yeah, we're patriotic socialists. We want to work for the state. But they kind of like follow that up with, well, but not the deep state, though. Drain the swamp. Am I right? Am I right? Fellow red hat wearer. Yeah. Make America great again, but communist, you know?
Like the debate bros that they're always going after, they only want to unite mostly white men to preserve and uphold power structures of patriarchy, white supremacism, and countless other forms of bigotry. They're fine with dividing off trans workers. That's why they deny that trans men even exist. They're
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Master of the Art. Yeah, that's what the Night of the Long Knives was. They killed a bunch of people who had socialist ideas. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100% grifters. Like, that's what you should know straight off the bat, right? You know?
Fine with dividing off black folks who aren't comfortable with worshiping the flag of the nation which enslaved and oppressed them for generations. Now, the American Patriot Socialists will, of course, deny this by claiming that those of us who care about things like not being rabid bigots and not further alienating marginalized members of the working class are out of touch with the working class.
I also encourage anyone who...
I functionally support the actual state, but ideologically only support a fictional version of the state I made up. Right, that's kind of what it sounds like, right?
Refuses...
Oh, yeah, there's so many anti-Semitic dog whistles. Listen, chat, if you're coming into this, new, we started this video on Monday. There's a link to the video in the chat. Please watch it yourself. Watch the first half, because there's a lot of stuff that EJ's already gone over that sort of explains how dangerous and anti-Semitic they actually are, and by proxy of that, bigoted in general.
To try and connect with the American public and just engage in ultra high-level specific language that no one can really resonate with. Do it, by all means, and try to start a newspaper or start an outlet.
Right, okay, so this is such... God damn it, right? This is such a ridiculous take. Like, I've seen this take a few times, right? Oh, we can't, just go down to the pub. I used to say this, to be fair. Like, a couple of years ago, I used to think that, if you went down to the pub and tried to explain to someone that they're having their wages stolen and stuff like that, that it's not going to work and stuff. And to be fair, I've been in conversations in pubs that have gotten quite heated because people don't want to change their minds, and in fact they're just in the pub to drink themselves stupid and forget that life is a thing. So that isn't a situation that actually happens, though. What actually happens if you're doing proper activism, because that's not actually proper activism, going to the pub and telling someone that they're wrong. That's just a bit weird. But what people actually do, right? This is another thing. They belittle the working class and say that they're dumb, right? Which is so reductive. It's simply not the case. Like, are they not aware that if you're working class and you get good grades, you can go to university? And shock horror, they don't get the job that they actually went for at university because society's not set up like that, because we live in capitalism and neoliberalism, right? So they become working class and they stay working class, right? People keep treating me like I'm Mule's secretary. Wait, what? What's happening? What's happening? Okay. Love that. What actually happens, is... if you go out and do activism, if you go out and do take part in a tenants union or create a tenants union, or, housing co-op or food bank work, or if you do mutual aid or a soup kitchen or stuff like that, of course you will come across people. It's actually guaranteed that you're going to come across people that don't share the same ideology as you. When I've done like eviction resistances in the past, I've like gotten chatting with people and had like really good conversations, and they've turned around to me and said, "Oh, actually, I'm a Trotskyist," and I'm like, right? But they've got all these good ideas, and it's like, oh, they're actually really based, and they're here on an eviction resistance, helping a woman of color resist eviction. So, wow, it's almost like what people talk about online is just not the same in real life. And actually, someone might call themselves a Trotskyist, but they're actually not a Trotskyist because they don't understand what it means properly, or maybe they do, but they disagree with some of the more problematic elements of it or whatever. Right. Do you know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, yeah, you are going to come across people who don't quite see eye to eye with you. There's a person in the tenants union who was talking about Joe Rogan, and I actually shut her down because I was like, no, you shouldn't talk about Joe Rogan. You shouldn't support him. He's a reactionary. He's a bigot and stuff like that. She got quite mad. And, we had to kind of cut the conversation there. But then later on, she realized, actually, you've got a point. And I never really thought of it like that. And I just reacted badly because, that's just who I am. And that is the nature of when you call someone out for doing something bad. they do tend to, first thing, especially if they're privileged, will be like, oh, fuck off. What the fuck are you talking about? It's bollocks that. I'm not a racist. Do you know what I mean? That's how it kind of works. So the idea that they're saying, oh, you know, because think about it. It's quite simple, actually, to understand the idea that landlords abuse their power and in general are bad, right? It's actually quite simple that if you approach most working class people with that simple idea, they will actually understand it, right? Because it's a simple thing to understand. Of course, if you want, you could give them, like, I don't know if there's any, like, Maoist writings on landlordism or any stuff from Lenin or whatever. Maybe there are, but, you know, you don't lead the conversation like that. You know, that isn't actually what happens. That isn't actually what leftists do. And, you know, what they're talking about is a made-up straw man leftist. They're like, oh, these weak leftists, they're too woke and they're not going to get anything done. Blah, 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 blah. It's nonsense. These leftists don't exist, and if they do exist, they exist online and online only. And they probably would get a rude awakening when they go out and try and do real activism. But that's the thing. Hello, good Morty. Good to see you. Even capitalism's daddy Adam Smith hated landlords. Right, it's easy to hate landlords. Right, exactly. Exactly. Right, let's read what some people said in the chat. I posted your video link in a server because the owner asked, and now a bunch of randos keep telling me their opinion on it. I think that's probably because I'm not responding to comments on the video, yeah. Oh, God. I once had a woman ask what book I was reading. We had a chat about the book I was reading. It was The Bread Book. Right, there you go. B-Rat says, no joke. Last time I was drinking with friends, I started ranting about commie theory to him, and we ended up in a good conversation about left versus right wing, yellow unions in my country and how big of a problem they are. Brilliant. That's dope. Let's go. I personally banned both Jackson and Haz from Kira's chat. Haz was there very early 2021 before many started to know who he was, demanding a debate because everyone is too afraid. And I banned him immediately after calling them Jimmy Dore sycophants. Fucking rocks. Let's go, Husker. I love that shit. Yeah, very based. Hell to Pay was saying something. He's being condescending here. I'm a bit worried I didn't do a great job, though. Wait, a great job on what? Wait, did you type something and it didn't go through? I'm not seeing your chat message. Sorry. Finest cuts of theory for the working class. That's right. Funny thing, my mum is slowly thinking landlords aren't so great. Yeah, and you know, you just have to talk to people in a general sense. You just have to really be like, you know what I mean? You just literally have to be like, you know, isn't it horrible that a landlord can just evict you for no reason? And most people, if they've lived under a landlord, they'll say yes. That is terrible that they can do that, because it's actually a very easy concept to understand. You know, I think only the most privileged people would turn around and be like, it's not so bad because I could just go home and live with my mum. Well, not everybody has that. You know. Anyway, I was describing to my friends how the United States was founded to serve land-only and slave-holding white men, and it still does, especially when you consider the prison population and the fact the 13th Amendment permits slavery in the cases of prisoners. Right, yeah, for sure. So even in some situations in the bar, when you do know what you're talking about, will actually end up being a productive conversation, right? Actually, in the taxi on the way to my mum's today, I was chatting to the fucking Uber driver about Uber unions and shit like that, and talking to him, like, you know, about all sorts of stuff, about unions in general. I was literally even talking to him about dual power. And he was like, oh, dual power, okay, that's weird. I said, yeah, you know, the Soviet Union, they were pretty bad, but they did some good stuff, and the good stuff that they did was literally when they, you know, created a network of dual power councils, and that's what the word Soviet means. It's just Russian for council, you know. And the guy was like, oh, right, is that how they did it? And I said, yeah, that's how they did it in Cuba, that's how they did it in Vietnam, all this kind of stuff. And he was like, oh, I didn't know that Cuba was like that, and all this. And he was dead receptive to it, you know. So that's the thing. This, what fucking Jackson Stinkle, yeah, is saying here, like, oh, you know, yeah, you just go and fucking, like, you know, go and do all this, that, and the other, blah, 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 right? They'll be dead unreceptive and they won't say anything about it. It's nonsense. It's fucking absolute bollocks. It's absolute bollocks, right? Hi, Somnio. Yeah, I talked to a stranger about unions. Yeah, absolutely. It's a fucking fly getting about in here. Our landlord is raising our rent 33%. I'm already a dirty commie, but if it wasn't, it would have probably radicalized me. Yeah, that's the thing. This is happening worldwide, like especially in the fucking UK at the moment. Especially in the UK at the moment.
Or start a Twitter feed or something using that language specifically and solely and see how it goes. I don't think it's going to go well, but
my dad is generally open to a lot of leftist theory. He was a union man. He just doesn't think that wider revolution is possible. That is the case with a lot of older left-wing people, because the collapse of the USSR was a huge doom-pilling event. Literally, a huge doom-pilling event for a lot of people. Back in the day, it was like when the Berlin Wall fell, they were like, that's it. Capitalism's won. That's it. It's over. Which is, of course, a very white idea, because they forgot about Cuba and they forgot about fucking Vietnam. They were like, oh, those countries don't exist. They forgot about other left-wing countries where like lots of things were taken off, right? You know?
Prove me wrong. And you know, I don't know. I don't think that really works.
But the class struggle is an abstraction. It's not a determinate,
Ultra
like meta-historical,
high-level specific
narrative underpinning the whole of history.
language that no one can really resonate with.
It's not an ontological understanding.
Successfully silenced South Yemen, yeah.
Language that no one can really resonate with.
Come on, capitalism is not some big word that
Socialist Spain as well, yeah.
can't understand. Neoliberalism is not a big fancy word. It's incredibly classist to think that workers can't grasp these basic concepts.
It is.
And we're not the ones obfuscating and muddying the waters when we talk clearly about class conflict, proletarian revolution, neoliberal oppression. The AMPAT socks are the ones who are being incredibly vague and obfuscating and alienating by using these shitty words like globalist elites that only appeal to fascists, when they could just be saying, fuck capitalism directly.
It's so telling, yeah, that every single one of them is not asked about unions. And in fact, they say unions don't achieve anything. When if you do your fucking research, unions achieved literally everything in every communist/socialist country. Like it was unions, or at the very least, the solidarity of working class people that led to the overthrowing or the divorcing of the wider society from government. You know, it's nonsense. Absolute nonsense when they say this shit.
And this is tailism. And if you're not familiar with the term tailism, it's another term coined by Lenin. You see, Lenin didn't think communists should simply follow along behind the working class. But what else is the function of social democracy if not to be a spirit that not only hovers over the spontaneous movement, but also raises this movement to the level of its program? Surely, it is not its function to drag at the tail of the movement. At best, this would be of no service to the movement. At worst, it would
no
be
worries, Big Cub. Thanks for being here.
Harmful. Lenin knew
Take
the
care.
bourgeoisie ingrained certain reactionary opinions and attitudes into the working class, and that it was the duty of communist revolutionaries to help to educate and elevate our fellow workers, not simply to follow them without question down the lane of bigotry and fascist tendencies.
Right.
Another argument used by the American patriot socialists, I'm tired of saying those words, is that focusing on idpol is somehow a distraction, and we should simply ignore the transphobia, racism, and misogyny of MAGA fascists simply because a lot of them happen to be working class, even though really a lot of them are petty bourgeoisie. Not to say that you can't, have solidarity with petty bourgeoisie people. There were petty bourgeois elements of the revolution in Vietnam. Petty bourgeois interests actually do align with the working class, and it's usually false consciousness that makes them think otherwise, but that's beside the point. The idea that MAGA...
It is sort of like a weird idea that if you're like a small business owner or you're self-employed or whatever, and you hire people or you contract, other people or whatever, you get this idea because there's an implied hierarchy, isn't there, in being a business owner. It's like you're the top dog, that's it, and everybody does what you say. And so, but it's nonsense, because like just like we found out during COVID, self-employed people, small businesses didn't get any fucking help from the government, right? Just absolutely ridiculous, you know. A co-worker at a previous job got fired for no real reason while on vacay. The union stepped in with their lawyers, and he's still working there years later, and they had to pay him damages for the incident. This is why fucking, you know, this is why it rocks, you know. This is why it's based to be in a union. It's ridiculous. It's also the dream that you'll eventually stop having to work and just sit back, let employees do it. Right, and that's the thing, because it's painted, right, you know, if you can... See, this is why it's annoying, right? This is why it's annoying. It's like, if you are if capitalism can take ideas like wage theft and exploiting workers and you know, put that in terms that the working class can understand, then so could communists about communist ideals, right? You know, what capitalists do is they take the concept of wage theft, they take the concept of being bourgeois, and they sell it to people who are desperate to get out of the working class struggle, and they, you know, make them think that they're Billy fucking Big Bollocks, right? There's a term I hate called productive poor, which kind of refers to these kind of petty bourgeoisie. Is that right? Yeah, it's not great. Unions are Patreon for lawyers. That's not right, but I think about it like that sometimes. Well, you know, this is the thing. The law, you know, thanks to unions, the law does, thankfully, in a bunch of countries, actually side with workers some of the time. So, you know, that's good. In the US, at least, business owners and self-employed people are actively encouraged to think of themselves as far above workers and closer to the ultra-rich. Yeah, they're encouraged to feel that way here as well. Definitely. Like, it's like, as soon as you become self-employed, you're better than everybody else. Sugary Senpai.
Wow, look at that beard.
Thank you so much for the 22 months. Now, chat, if that guy from before, Persona, right, if you're still knocking about,
Hello, me old chum.
thanks for the follow. That is the only time that a comment about my appearance is fine. When someone I've known for a long time hasn't seen me with a beard and then comes in and goes, oh my God, look at your beard. You know, that's normal. That's fine, right? So there you go. That's how that works. Thank you so much for the 22 months, Shuggy. Can I get a shout out for Sugary Senpai as well, please? I don't know if you're streaming that much anymore, but anyway, just go follow him. Anyway, Shafiq, if you're about. Mr. Fishy says, I think the energy crisis has shattered that illusion for a lot of small business owners in the last bit. Oh, yeah, pubs and all that. Yeah, it's fucked. It's fucked. All your hair migrated to the south. Yes, that's what happened, Carpe Pax. My hair went, fuck it, it's too cold up here. Let's get down here, closer to the mouth, you know. And he breathed, the hot air comes out of the mouth, so it's warmer down here than it is up there. Anyway.
MAGA is a working class movement at all has been completely blown out of the water by hard data. Trump voters had far higher incomes than Biden voters and non-voters. A massive section of the MAGA movement are petty bourgeois.
Yeah.
As you can tell just by looking at any pictures of MAGA rallies, I mean, these people have some very expensive trucks and guns and shit. And
I learned something very interesting about these cars. You know, you see these big cars getting about, like these big pickup trucks and SUVs and stuff, like the gas guzzlers, you know, absolutely disgusting, no need for size of these cars and stuff like that, right? Yeah, land yachts. That's a good way to talk them. I learned something very interesting about them. And that is, if you were to take the dust, I'm not saying you should do this, because it might be illegal. But if it is illegal, you should never do that. Right, but what I found out is that if you were to do this, take the dust cap off a tire like that and put a pebble, like just a little pebble that fits in the bottom end of the you know, of the dust cap, and then if you screw it back on, it'll actually activate the part of the you know, the pump valve that lets the air out. And so if you just screw it back on, it'll just let all the air out. Interesting that, isn't it? How that works.
Of MAGA rallies, I mean,
It doesn't let the air out slowly. It lets the air out quite rapidly, in fact. So that's something that you know now. Don't ever do it, though, if it's illegal in your country. Do you know what I mean? Don't ever do that. Yeah, don't joke about that. Carpe Pax. Sorry, don't joke about that stuff. It is less dangerous than slashing tires, and you shouldn't do that either. Absolutely. Right. Anyway.
People have some very expensive trucks and guns and shit. And those who are actually working class in the MAGA movement would be what Marx described as bourgeois proletariat. That is, working class people who benefit from imperialism enough that they end up siding with capital against their own interests. If you need evidence that the working class Trump supporters are working against the interests of the working class, I will remind you that they support Trump, who was extremely anti-worker. His policies were anti-worker. He is a billionaire. He is a fascist. And voting for him is a form of class betrayal.
Yeah.
It's a
hey, Johnny.
Self-proving phenomenon.
Go follow Johnny, everyone. He's lovely.
You are a working class Trump supporter. You are what Marx defined as the bourgeois proletariat.
Right.
End of discussion. That's not to say that Trump supporters, whether they're working class or petty bourgeoisie, are completely unreachable. A lot of former Trump supporters have moved towards the left.
Apparently that's true, master of the art, yeah.
These people by adopting their most reactionary characteristics to try to lure them over with the stink bait of bigotry. This only serves to corrupt and undermine our own movement. It muddies our own message.
Doesn't that sound familiar, chat? Doesn't that sound like a bunch of other people who are undermining the left-wing movement? Just trying to, you know, cozy up to bigots. Sounds very similar to a bunch of other people that do that, doesn't it?
Our movement must be humanist, progressive, and liberatory in nature, not reactionary, not rooted in bigotry and fascist principles. The best way to win people over to communism, whether they're Trump supporters or not, is by teaching them communism. Because communism reflects reality. It speaks to the problems which people actually face in the real world. Communism speaks to the people in a way that fascism never can, because communism reflects the truth. The idea of trying to win over workers through bigotry against marginalized people is patently absurd. And speaking of marginalized people, LGBTQ+ people now account for over 7% of the population. Now, granted, that's not a super big number yet, but Marxist philosophy is all about seeking a comprehensive and historical perspective.
That's wild. What else? Where? Right, UK. How many people? How many? There must be. How many people in the UK identify as LGBTQ+? Sexual Orientation UK 2019 Office for National Statistics. Okay, so it's about the same in the UK. It says here the proportion of the UK population aged 16 years and over identifying as heterosexual or straight Famous Horse. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, so decreased from 94.6% in 2018 to 93.7% in 2019. So it's like 6 point whatever, right? That's mad. Percentages doubled over the past 10 years as 21% of Gen Z. So 21% of the younger generation. Wow. Okay, that's a lot. Did they ask that in censuses? Yeah, it's the censuses, yeah. I would actually ask you to not subscribe to Mule. I would actually ask you to donate via the sub off Twitch command in the chat, because I don't like giving money to Twitch. They're a bad platform. Naughty boys running Twitch. Don't like them. So instead of doing that, just donate directly to my PayPal. But I do appreciate subs as well and bits. Thank you. So yeah, I think it's about the same as the UK, which is it's fair enough, but like, wow, okay. So I guess that's like through the entirety of people across all generations, And I guess some older generations are still a little bit like, oh, I don't want to, you know what I mean?
And studying development, so let's get some context. First of all, that figure is increasing more rapidly than ever, year by year, thanks to the arduous struggle of our community to make it safer and more socially acceptable for folks to come out.
That's right.
By comparison, let's look at the development of the acceptance of gay marriage in the USA. In 2004, less than 20 years ago, only about 31% of the population favored same-sex marriage. Today, that number is up to 61%.
Hell yeah.
Clear majority. And if they don't support trans work,
that's right as well, provided more queer people are not announcing it on censuses. Yeah, it sucks that they didn't have that question in Ireland. Obviously, it's important to know that queer people are, you know, a minority, yes, but there's like more than them that you would have thought, because 7.1% out of 70 million is still a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, there's going to be a lot of people who prefer not to say. There's going to be people in the closet. There's going to be people also all sorts of, you know, different scenarios.
Workers now, because there aren't enough trans people, they wouldn't have supported gay marriage in 2004 because not enough workers supported gay marriage at that time. They're not driven by principles or a coherent libertarian worldview. They are opportunists and demagogues who are driven by a thirst for power and relevancy.
Right.
And money. At any rate, the AMPAT Sox have made it clear that they are willing to completely alienate 7% of all workers to pursue a segment of the population that is anti-communist and the least likely to join a communist revolution.
Well, that's the funniest thing. You see, like, the screenshots of these guys on, like, Parler and Truth Social who are like, yeah, you know, we're uniting with the MAGA. We're uniting with the MAGA. It's yeah. We're doing MAGA communism, and everyone on these fucking websites is like, fuck you, commie, you pinko piece of shit. I'm gonna kill you. Slur, right? You know what I mean? Shit like that. It's just ridiculous.
And speaking as a non-binary person, as one of the 7% of USA citizens who identifies as LGBTQ+, I have to take issue with the framing that we merely disagree with MAGA fascists on these issues. It goes a lot deeper than that. They want to eradicate us. They don't want us to exist. I mean, it's obvious that we'll have to work with people who we disagree with to build a working class movement. That's a given. And this is a common sophistry tactic that debate bros use all the time. Yeah. They start with a pretty obvious and rational statement like, we have to reach out to and work with people we disagree with. Then they leap from that nugget of truth to wildly brain-dead conclusions like, we should work with outright bigots. White supremacism, turf ideology, and fascism go far beyond mere disagreement.
Yeah.
And it's just reckless and absurd to suggest that we should be willing to work with and ally with people who want to get rid of us. But the AMPAT Sox are willing
EJ's
to work
non-binary,
with those people because in truth they share those destructive and bigoted and genocidal goals with MAGA fascists, which is why they're so willing not...
One of the most horrible things that I've heard people say about Luna Oi and EJ is the fact that, like, oh, you live in Japan and they fucking hate queer people over there, so, you know, you're obviously a counter-revolutionary. But they're both queer. Like, literally, both of them are queer. Luna is a proud bisexual, and EJ is non-binary. You know. Did I say Japan? I meant Vietnam. Sorry, did I say... Sorry, did I say Japan? I meant Vietnam. You know. Yeah, sorry, brain... Yeah. No. It's fine. They're not in Japan. That's my bad. Vietnam is where they say. But that's one of the most ridiculous things that I've heard about both of them. It's just ridiculous. I did an Orientalism. Yeah, it's cancellation time. That's right. Cancellation time. It's so strange that people try to paint them as queerphobic. It's not strange. It's targeted harassment. And it's sick. And it's fucked. But it is kind of strange. I'll give you that. It's a bit strange. Hello, Alejandro. How you doing? Still works to how uncultured Pat Stocks are. Listen, I'm not trying to appeal to Pat Stocks. Fuck him. Anyway. Let's crack on. Sugary Senpai was saying this is a lovely background video. Yeah, you can find out if you check out the start of the video, right? You can actually find out where EJ is here. It's in Vietnam. I believe it's Library of Stuff or Temple of Literature or something. I can't remember. But if you check out the first couple of minutes of the video, EJ explains it there for you. So,
not just to look past their bigotry, but to participate in spreading their bigotry. their MAGA ideology. The MAGA fascists...
Yes, that's right, chat. Depending on where you live and how the politics is in that area, that means that you are the same as those politics and you support those politics. And if they're bad politics, you're a bastard and your opinions don't count. That's how it works. That's how it works. That was sarcasm, by the way.
Are not aligned with the interests of the working class. They are fascists.
Nice, comrade.
Yet another case in which Lenin would have flatly disagreed. Is it true, Lenin asks, that in general, the economic struggle is the most widely applicable means of drawing the masses into the political struggle? It is absolutely untrue. All and sundry manifestations of police tyranny and autocratic outrage, and not only such as are connected with the economic struggle, are not one whit less widely applicable as a means of drawing in the masses. Lenin then goes on to list a bunch of social, identity-oriented problems, what the AMPAT Sox might dismiss as idpol, including the flogging of the peasants, the persecution of the religious sects, and many other similar manifestations of tyranny. Lenin pointed out that such struggles, though not directly connected with the economic struggle, represent in general widely applicable means and occasions for political agitation and for drawing the masses into the political struggle. Lenin continues, of the sum total of the cases in which the workers suffer from tyranny, violence, and lack of rights, undoubtedly only a small minority represent cases of police tyranny in the economic struggle as such. Why then should we beforehand restrict the scope of political agitation by declaring only one of the means to be the most widely applicable, when Social Democrats have, in addition to their generally speaking no less widely applicable means?
Damn, he was fucking based. He was fucking based. So many people fall over themselves to tell me that I'd be murdered for existing in the Middle East and North Africa. Yeah, it's like, it's just such a fucking, you know, kick in the teeth. You know, I imagine to be told something like that when it's like, look, you've got no experience of what you're talking about, and even if that is the case, what does that have to do with anything? Do you know what I mean? Like, what has that got to do with it? What, so I should be happy living in the UK? Should I? Is that what that's about? Like, is that what you're trying to tell me? That I shouldn't criticize the country I live in because actually, you won't die here, right? But you actually could die here because surprisingly, racists and homophobes live here too. You know? So, what does that mean, right? Stupid as fuck.
He's saying
queerphobes, transphobes, bigots.
Worry about.
You know?
Join workers in all of their struggles against all forms of oppression. It's pretty obvious, and that's why Lenin's right and the AMPAT Sox are very wrong here. That's to say, we should be addressing every single form of oppression faced by workers to unite the working class. If we're looking for segments of the working class to pursue and bring into the fold, why should we be going after the most reactionary, bigoted, privileged, and fascistic elements of the working class? The least oppressed, the ones that like capitalism and fascism the most. I can't believe I have to ask these questions. They seem like very silly questions indeed, and yet the American Patriot Socialists bring us down to this level. I realize, of course, that not every single Trump supporter, by the way, is a fascist bigot, but the rhetoric being used by the American Patriot Socialists, it's clearly directed towards the most bigoted and fascistic elements of.
There is this bizarre belief amongst people like Pat Sox, Debate Bros, people like that, who seem to think that 90% of the country are just reactionary, horrific people, right? And it's such a reductive, sweeping statement. It's got no basis in reality. You know, the majority of people even in imperial core countries that are like, you know, suffering under actual, like, you know, horrible neoliberal governments and shit like that, and all sorts of horrific bills that are coming in to, you know, attack trans people, queer people, you know, people of color. Like, it's, you know, even in countries like ours, in the UK, Turf Island and shit, the majority of people support marginalized people. They do. That's just a fact. Like, fascists are becoming a minority. They're no less dangerous, mind you, and they absolutely are a problem that needs to be dealt with. But the sort of idea is that, like, well, you know, we need to work with them with outright fascists, and that will be great, and that'll be fun, and that'll solve all those problems. And that's why it's so important we need to defend our positions in the marketplace of ideas and stuff like that. It's just like, what? Your initial shit isn't even based in reality, you know? I remember how American Christian groups brought homophobia to Uganda in the last decade. Right. And Uganda is now one of the worst places for queer people, right? It's just, you know, all these... I feel like it was like missionaries and shit like that. I always remember thinking about how fucked up that was. Like, oh yeah, missionaries, I'm going on a mission. We're going to go and convert, you know, these people in you know, in Africa. They're just horrible people. They're just naturally horrible people. And it's like, what? It's sounding a bit racist, you know?
MAGA fascism. This is tailism, at best, and a fascistic psyop to try and diffuse fascistic ideology into leftist spaces and into our movement at worst. I mean, the AMPAT socks overtly claim that they want to unite with MAGA fascists because they're afraid that our culture in the USA will be homogenized by the globalists.
Globalism embodies the, you know, one world sentiment of, and it actually kind of relates back to this whole patriotic socialism debate. It refers to the idea of like one world centralism.
Still can't get over the fact that he's 22. Can't get over it. Is it him that's 22 or is it Caleb Maupin? I can't remember. What is it? Has that's 22? I don't know. Do you remember we did it on Monday? We were figuring out how old they are. And Jackson Hinkle, he kind of looks like he's in his 30. He looks like late 20s, 30s or something like that. I don't know.
Of all energy markets, of all, you know, national boundaries, erasing national boundaries, erasing peoples, erasing histories, and kind of bringing it all under one Western.
Maupin's older, that's right.
And that's what the West is trying to do. That's what the EU is. That's what NATO is. That's what the World Economic Forum and Davos is. It is kind of a catch-all word for, you know, all of these sorts of things, whatever you want to call it.
Jews. He's trying to say Jews. He's trying to say it's a catch-all word for Jews, and the Jews are opening the borders in the country that you live in, and they're trying to make everyone trans and gay, and that's what they're doing. That's what's happening. And they're doing that because... you know, they're acting like that's a bad thing for a start.
There's different aspects of it.
This is, of course, just a regurgitation of the fascist Great Replacement theory,
Alex Jones nonsense,
which is itself rooted in anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that go all the way back to the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a long debunked book that claimed that Jewish people are seeking to eradicate European cultures by taking control of banks and the media and all that kind of shit. And what we're really talking about here isn't uniting the working class to overthrow capitalism. If it was, the AMPAT socks wouldn't spend all their time courting bigots and fascists by adopting their fascist conspiracy theories, which are rooted in culture.
You know, I don't know who that is, Butter Bebop, Socialist MMA. I feel like I recognize the name from Twitter or whatever, but I don't know. You know the person to ask that? Famous Horse. Go and follow Famous Horse. Honestly, like, he knows all these guys. He knows all of them. He's so fucking, like, laser focused on it that it's actually, like, impressive. It's impressive how much he actually knows about it.
Eradication theories, and none of their time teaching class consciousness or...
Oh, it's the guy interviewing Hinkle. I've no idea. I've genuinely no idea. I mean, you know, if you see someone sort of like giving airtime to people like that, that is a bit worrying just in general, because it's like, if you were actually a socialist, if you were actually a communist, you'd sort of clap back straight away and be like, hang on a minute, what are you on about? There's every chance that Socialist MMA might have brought him on because he thought, oh, cool, communist guy or whatever, I don't know. And then, you know, he's just a bit confused because of the rhetoric that Hinkle is using. These people are going to change their sort of views or the way that they speak depending on who they're speaking to. So that if they're speaking to fascists, they'll be saying like, oh yeah, we hate all the things you hate too. Or if they're speaking to communists, they'll be like, oh yeah, we hate all the things you hate as well. You know, so I imagine there's every chance that he could have literally just been like a bit flummoxed at what's going on. Who knows? I don't know much about socialist MMA, so I would genuinely ask Famous Horse.
Or trying to heal the rifts that exist within the working class by actually addressing the concerns of marginalized folks, or, you know, talking about Marxism or class consciousness or attacking capitalism.
Yeah,
In
anything
point of
like
fact,
that. Anything.
These bozos are really just staging what Michael Parenti refers to as a false revolution.
Right.
Both the Italian fascists and the Nazis made a conscious effort.
Oh, you know, when people talk about Italian fascist party like Mussolini now, it's like, oh God, that's not the past anymore. That's not the pasta anymore. It's the now. Fucking hell. Honestly.
At imitating the left. Youth organizations, mass mobilizations, rallies, parades, banners, symbols, slogans, uniforms. Fascism, in fact, is a false revolution. It makes a revolutionary appeal without making an actual
class struggle
revolution.
against microphones.
It propagates the widely proclaimed new order while
his endless class struggle against microphones, leftist audio, and color grading.
serving the same old moneyed interests.
In Black Shirts
Hey,
and
Ancom
Reds,
Psycho.
points out that fascists have always co-opted popular
Benita
leftist messaging
Musashini.
and aesthetics to present themselves as heroes of the people, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. MAGA communism and American patriot socialism are just feeble attempts to hide a brown shirt beneath a red cape, following in the footsteps of the great monsters of history.
Now, like with a lot of terms, like liberalism, democracy, socialism, communism, no single definition of fascism maybe will satisfy everybody. And with fascism, there's a really special problem because it's a beguiling mix of revolutionary-sounding mass appeals and reactionary class politics. And the reactionary class politics are the part of fascism that our establishment historians almost never talk about.
Hey, Squid.
Hitler's party, for instance, was called the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the NSDAP, or Nazis. It's a very left-sounding name, National Socialist German Workers. And
which is why all the right-wing talking heads keep saying again and again and again, oh, isn't it funny that the leftists, they call themselves socialists and working party, they're concerned about the workers. Sounds very much like the Nazis, doesn't it, actually? Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, if my granddad was a bicycle, he'd have wheels. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what's your point? You know, this doesn't make any sense. Let me give you a quick shout out, Skidadia, because I'm not sure where Shafiq is, but there you go. There you go. Please go and follow our Skidadia. Lovely fella. Good streamer. A crystal ceiling knacked. The night of broken glass ceilings, right, yeah. Sorry, sorry, Shafiq. Yeah. I thought that you might have popped off somewhere. My bad, no worries.
it was designed to win broad support among working people, even while the Nazis were destroying working class organizations.
Right.
In other words, fascism, the original Italian and German variations of fascism, was a political phenomenon that made a revolutionary appeal without making a revolution. It promised to solve the ills of the many while in fact protecting the special interests of the few with violence and terror.
Yeah.
And it propagated a new political consciousness, a new order, a new nation to serve the same old capitalist system.
Now, I know Jackson Hinkle has at least read to page 2 of this book, Black Shirts and Reds by Parenti, because he plagiarized the book word for word without crediting Parenti in this tweet. So I gotta...
What? Let's have a look at that. At the end of World War I, Mussolini the socialist who had organized strikes for workers became Mussolini the fascist who broke the strikes on behalf of financiers and landowners. Mussolini projected himself onto the national scene as a leader of I fasci di combattimento. By the end of World War I, Mussolini the socialist was, oh my god, yeah, it's actually word for word. That's so funny. The movement was composed of black-shirted ex-army officers who were guided by no clear political doctrine other than conservative dislike for socialism or organized labor. The fascist black shirts spent their time attacking trade unionists, socialists, communists, and farm coups. Oh my god, it is literally. It is literally. Yeah, a brown shirt is a fascist street thug, yeah. I don't understand why not attribute the quote, because then, Buddha Bebop, some people might go and read Parenti. And when they read Parenti, they would understand that Jackson Hinkle is a grifter. And he's talking rubbish. And he's lying. That's why.
Says he plagiarized the book word for word without crediting Parenti in this tweet. So I gotta wonder if Hinkle isn't basically using Parenti's book as an instruction manual on how to become a successful fascist. But I don't want you to think this is just an individual problem with fail son.
This is fucking brilliant. Did anyone see that? Like, his dad, I feel like his dad hates him. And it's actually quite sad, really. Like, imagine if your son grew up to be Jackson Hinkle. That'd be so upsetting. Like, you know, lies my parents told me when I was little. Santa is real. The tooth fairy leaves money under your pillow. The United States military is fighting wars to defend our country, right? And his dad pops in and says, number one, I'm Santa. You never complained when you got the gifts. There's also a picture there of, like, you know, his dad and, like, maybe his mum and possibly his sister that they are proud of. Because they don't have any pictures with Jackson Hinkle because they don't want to associate him with him anymore because he's a Nazi, right? Yes, we were such assholes sneaking you money under your pillow. 3, never once did your mother or I tell you that the military is fighting wars to defend our country. That's a bold-faced lie on your part. When his followers started DMing me on Twitch, I just sent them that image and they get so mad, but then they'd shut up. Right. By the way, right? What I would say is that if you're on Twitch, you should turn off your DMs. There's no reason for anyone to DM you on Twitch, right? Sometimes what happens is these nerds will go to streams like mine and they'll see people in the chat. They'll come in the chat and they'll get banned. And then they'll start DMing people in the chat. Now, they're not going to say anything good. They're not going to say anything worth it. So, literally just, honestly, best piece of advice I could give you, turn off your fucking DMs on Twitch. Seriously, it's fucking bollocks. Nothing good has ever come out of DMs on Twitch. Maybe a tiny little micro amount of things have come out of your DMs being open on Twitch, but, you know. You just wait for him to say something TOS in your DMs and report them and get them banned from Twitch. That's fine, if you've got the spoons to do that, if you've got the energy to do that, if you know what I mean? But there are some people who are, you know, marginalized, and they're openly marginalized in my community, and they might start calling them slurs. So, you know, honestly, that's why I'm giving that advice. I turned off DMs during the last fundraiser stream I helped with. Too many weirdos. Yeah, there's so many weirdos, honestly. Hey, Tutors, what's going on? Shafiq, could I get a shout out for Tutors Draws? How you doing? Imagine getting called out by your dad. I know. Good life advice. You turned him off. Someone wants to really DM you, they can on the Discord with your consent. Yeah, or they can, you know, find you on Twitter or whatever. Like, you know. Also, you don't owe anyone your time. Yeah, you don't owe anyone your time. You don't have to respond to any DMs ever, in fact, actually, and you can still live a fulfilling life, I would say.
On Hinkle. This isn't about Hinkle as an individual. This entire...
I mean, unless they're like emergencies and, you know, it's people that you care about. That's different, right? Innit? You know what I mean? Nuance, nah.
entire movement, the American Patriot Socialists, is all about distorting facts and building false narratives to bolster a fake-ass revolution. One radical Marxist group from the past who fake American leftists love to pretend to like would be the Black Panthers. Of course, if the Black Panthers were around today, debate bros like Vosh and the American Patriot Socialists would not get along with them. I'm sure Vosh would...
Very good, thanks, too. It's good to hear it.
...want to commit reverse genocide against white people or some shit. I mean, after all, the Black Panthers were Marxist-Leninists. They were black nationalists. But anyway, we're talking about a different pseudo-leftist Nazbol today, so enough about Vosh. Anyway, one talking point which American Patriot Socialists bring...
That was so funny, a fart came out.
The Black Panthers worked with the Young Patriots, who were Confederate flag-loving good old boys, according to the American Patriot Socialists. See, the case they're trying to build goes something like this. The Panthers were cool and good. Everyone loves the Panthers, and the Panthers were willing to unite with chuds who love the Confederate flag. Therefore, we should unite with MAGA chuds today. But wait, not so fast. Dialectical materialism, the underlying philosophy of Marx and Lenin, whom the AMPATSOCs pretend to totally follow and understand, demands that we seek a comprehensive and historical perspective in our analysis of history, human society, and
it's a funny thought, yeah,
everything else. Which means we can't just look at a literal snapshot in time and draw any meaningful conclusions from it. We have to dig deeper.
Right.
And we have to figure out the historical context of photos like these, and we have to try to understand how the Young Patriots developed over time. And if you barely scratch the surface, you'll quickly see that the Black Panthers didn't simply look past the Confederate flags, and the Young Patriots only used those Confederate flags as a symbol for a relatively brief period of time. You see, the Young Patriots organization knew even early on that the Confederate flag would alienate many black people, and they even covered it up around them towards the beginning of their relationship with the Black Panthers, as Young Patriot founder Hy Thurman explained in a recent interview.
I've heard of Hy Thurman. What's a popular thing that Hy Thurman's done? Has he been on Democracy Now? All right, Shafiq, thanks for letting me know. I've heard of this guy.
It's also worth noting that the Young Patriots didn't feel that the American flag would start much of a conversation with folks. And this is something that American Patriot Socialists conveniently never mention in their exploitative use of the Young Patriots when they're weaving their narratives.
Right.
Anyway, over time, as the Young Patriots developed as an organization, largely through working alongside the Black Panthers, they ended up dropping the Confederate flag altogether, realizing that it was a symbol of oppression and bourgeois interests. So we can see that the Young Patriots developed over time through their external relations, working with black revolutionists and negating internal contradictions, getting rid of white supremacist members and dropping the Confederate flag. None of which the American Patriot Socialists are advocating as they call for us to unite with MAGA. So all of this is extremely dishonest on the part of the American Patriot Socialists.
Don't forget to take your meds, chat.
Pretend that this is the story of the Black Panthers uniting with social reactionaries to fight against globalist elites, which, believe me, the Young Patriots and the Black Panthers never talked about the globalist elites. The American Patriot Socialists are taking this small snapshot of a single point in time, a single photo, literally, and constructing an entire fantasy about Black Panthers uniting with Chuds, so therefore we should unite with Chuds. And this whole fiction runs completely counter to what actually happened in the historical development of the Young Patriots.
Big stretch.
In reality, the Young Patriots bore no resemblance whatsoever to MAGA fascists of today. The Young Patriots were, from the beginning, Marxists and socialists, not fascists. The Black Panthers didn't unite with the Young Patriots. They worked together on common goals. They had a confederation, which they allowed the Young Patriots to join. But the Panthers never tacitly supported or endorsed the usage of Confederate flags by the Young Patriots. They merely tolerated them in the earliest stage of development of the coalition, and the Young Patriots were quite quick to first conceal and then abandon these symbols, the Confederate flag, altogether.
Oh my God, is Bayonetta 3 out today? No, Bayonetta 3 is not out today, is it? Oh, Bayonetta 1 and 2 have had an update, right. Okay. Okay, alright.
Their usage of
I guess you could probably pre-order it,
was just a small point in time, one stage, one
fucking love
stage
Bayonetta
in the path and the history of the Young Patriots. So the real lesson here is to not make the same mistakes as the early Young Patriots made. We should drop or never adopt reactionary symbols of bourgeois nationalism. Yet the American...
I believe Bayonetta 2 is only on the Switch so far, unfortunately. Bayonetta 1, you can get it on PC. I can't remember. I think I've got both of them on the Switch. I can't remember. You're getting Bayonetta 1. Bayonetta fucking 1 is sick. They're both sick. They're both absolutely phenomenal.
American Patriot Socialists want to repeat this exact same mistake, which the Young Patriots got over, and they, got rid of the stinking bourgeois flags. But the American Patriot Socialists want to do the same thing again, and they use the Young Patriots as like a role model when the Young Patriots didn't want to do that. It's very frustrating the way that they are bending the truth about what actually happened historically with the Young Patriots. It's very upsetting. let me calm down. We should not make the same mistake of pushing jingoistic, chauvinist symbols and ideology ever. And that's the lesson we should learn from the young patriots. Moving on. At the end of the day, all of this manipulation and twisting and warping of reality is just further evidence that American patriot socialism is fake. It's a fake socialist movement using fake narratives to build a fake revolution in service to a very real and very dangerous fascist ideological underpinning. So while it's hard for me to take these super dorks seriously, I have to take fascism in all of its forms seriously. And so I had to make this video, even though, again, I don't like talking about this shit at all. And I especially don't like to deal with the hordes of American patriot sycophants who are well known for mass harassment, doxing, and other fascist tactics. My wife Luna and I have
fashion tactics. Thank you, CC. Appreciate that.
Already been through it with these fuckers once before. We know that we're gonna probably have to go through the same thing again. And I really don't like giving this clown show any more attention than they already have. As my mama said, you don't water weeds, but their platforms are now larger than mine. And I figure it's time to step up and say something with what little clout I might have, even if I do end up drawing the fire of their sycophants, their sock puppets, and their botnets.
Yeah, big up EJ.
This is the most famous inscription in the Temple of Literature. Roughly translated, it means, talented and righteous minds are the driving force of the people. When that driving force is strong, the people are also strong. When that driving force becomes weak, the people become weak. So, moving forward, we have to ask ourselves, are the minds behind the American Patriot Socialist movement talented and righteous? Are they making the driving force of the socialist movement stronger or weaker?
Weaker?
There are only two holes. Whoa!
I do everything for the.
What the fuck was that? I've never seen this one. I've never seen this clip. Excuse me. You know, we showed you that clip on, and it was in this video as well. The two holes clip on the stream on Monday. He actually wouldn't shut up about it on Twitter. He was literally just posting. He was posting through it. You know what I mean? Like really posting through it on Twitter when that whole shit was kicking off or whatever. So, you know, honestly, it's just so funny to see new clips of him talking about the two holes
stronger
scenario
or weaker. You decide.
There are only two holes. Whoa!
I do everything for the clout. You will never see me do something not for the clout.
There are only two holes. Whoa!
Oh, I hate this.
My approach is like be the nice guy, but at the end of the day, it's all a facade.
So you're saying you objectify women on the low? Haas just seems a little
I told you like 3 times on this stream that I'm literally engaged in exploiting women for their clout at this point in my.
This guy just doesn't even give a shit. This is just absolutely wild. What a horrible little nasty man. What a horrible little nasty man. Jesus Christ. Oh, there's no way I'm using that as an alert. No, that's way too much psychic damage. No, not at all. Listen, I've got to sort my fucking. I've genuinely got to sort out my my alerts and stuff, but no way am I having any of these psychically damaging turds on my alerts. Jackson fucking hates women. It's a lot. Yeah, I believe that. Also, hi Trans Jane Dare. Welcome in. Indistinguishable from Debate Bros, actually. Yeah, literally indistinguishable at this point.
There are only two holes. Whoa!
By the end of our relationship, your confidence shattered.
Poop and pee?
Your bank account emptier than it is right now.
The P one.
I will be the one who comes out on top. The real question is whether or not you have followers for me to exploit.
There are only two holes. Whoa!
Oh, I hate this. It's so much psychic damage.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a dickhead.
Okay, so what are those holes used for?
A lot of things, like
Burger King.
Had to end it with the Burger King. Had to end it with the Burger King. Chat. Oi, chat. We made it through it. Oh, yeah. You know what? Listen, B-Rat. Listen, B-Rat. Hey, Robert. How you doing? Listen. Kind of got to see this again, to be honest. Kind of got to see this again, to be honest. This is one of the best clips of all time. This just doesn't stop being funny.
It's piss.
It is the gasp. It's the gasp. That's the funniest bit. The gasp is the funniest bit. The gasp and the pause, right? Let's hear it again.
It's piss. No!
Oh man, that is just fucking so good. That is just so good. Oh, hey Gonzo, what's going on? Right, okay, what have we got next? Well, listen, chat, because you've all been good. You've all been very, very good, cheeky little chatters, right? We've done a big learn. We've gone through a big, long video essay. What we're going to do is we're going to have a little break. And we're going to look at some cool videos. We're going to look at some funny videos. We're going to look at some short videos. We're just going to have like a react stream, basically. It's not going to be like heavy on the political theory and shit like that. We're going to be taking a little look. There might be a weird guy in there. There might be a guy in the woods. I don't know. We just have to see how good you are. See how well-behaved chat is. There's a lot of little cheeky videos that I've got here. There's a lot of little cheeky videos. But first of all, I'm going to just take a tiny little break. Go to the toilet. Just a reminder for you lot to do that as well. Take your meds, etc. So you admit you're a reactionary. Unfortunately, I am. Yes. Unfortunately, I am. Moisturizer, my guys, it's a bad day. I got waffles without syrup. I'm sorry to hear that. If my bad days were like that, oh boy, I would be fucking buzzing. I've always liked this background track. What is it? I think this is a tune from Ace Combat 3. I'm not entirely sure. So I'm just going to drop, again, the video in the chat. It's right there. It's called 90s/noughties Ambient Jungle in Gaming Mix. So that's what that is. Right. Okay. Back in the tick, chat. Won't be long. Right. Oh. It's the fucking emote showdown in the chat. Oh wait, there's something else I wanted to do. Hang on. Be right back. Be right back. Okay. Yeah, a little bit more chair there. Is that Germa remotes? Oh my god. Love seeing some Germa remotes in my chat, to be honest. Let's fucking go. Love that. And some Limelicious. I love a bit of limes. Goddamn British architecture. It's supposed to be 15 degrees C here and I feel cold all day. Yeah, I know that feeling, Rob. Honestly, mate. Yeah. Yeah, I got huge empathy for you there, mate. Honestly, it's not good. Not good, not good, not good. Right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to update my stream title. I don't know, just something a bit funny. I don't know, not really thinking about it, just whatever. Because we're just gonna have a bit of a laugh. The first thing that we're gonna look at is there's a couple of little funny things that I want to check out. I've got a video here called 15 Strange Things Found in Google Maps. I've got The Sad State of Comedy. I've got Psychedelic Entities Broken Down and Described, which I think will be very funny. And then we've got Medieval Junk Food. And then The Death of the Most Hated Subculture, which could go into a little bit of politics. There could be a little bit of politics. Who am I kidding? There's going to be politics in it, but it's not going to be that heavy. Psychedelic one, that sounds like it could be pretty funny. It's about 20 minutes long, that one. You know what? Let's go for it. Psychedelic Entities, Broken Down and Described. Now, chat, if you don't know my history with psychedelic entities, I don't have any history with psychedelic entities. Well, I kind of do, but I don't know if that's what you would call them. Anyway, if you don't know about my history with psychedelics, I've done a lot of psychedelics. I used to love magic mushrooms, and I've certainly had weird trips where there've been like things, and it feels like they're real, but they're probably not real, and I don't know, and who fucking knows, right? It's all weird shit that your brain does. Who even knows what the brain actually does? There's loads of fucking stuff that we don't understand about it. But anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch this video on psychedelic entities, right? And maybe it'll be funny. Maybe I'll be able to relate to a little bit of it. I hope not, because that'll be embarrassing. Anyway, let me change up. Hello, Chrissy8. How is it going? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, we're going to be learning about machine elves. That's right. I've heard of those before because I've read some Terence McKenna. In fact, you've given me a good little idea for the title. Good idea for the title there. I think that's a pretty good title. Obviously not the title of the stream. The stream is just whatever. Just this sort of title of the scene. I don't know if there'll be any. I think maybe the content warning for here will be like fast moving images. Maybe maybe whatever it is. Maybe flashing images, not sure. Just be mindful if you've got a little bit of epilepsy there and whatnot. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying, chap? Surfer McGritty says, hey there, discovered you yesterday. The other day, really excited to be here. It says here that you were back here in the 21st of June. Do you mean like other stuff that I've done? I don't understand. But welcome in anyway. Hope you're doing all right. Chrissy A. Chrissy A is a streamer, by the way. Please go and show some love to Chrissy A. Absolutely phenomenal streamer. I love her to bits. She's dead good. Go and check her out. I guess I have, but it's been a minute. Yeah, no worries at all, honestly. Yeah, welcome in. Yeah, I'm happy to have you regardless. Happy to have you regardless, but like, you know, normally when someone says that, a big thing comes up on my chat thing, and it says first time chatter. And so I was a bit confused, so I just checked your logs, and it said you'd been following since about the 21st of June. So yeah, that's just confused me, that's all. But anyway. Hello, Echo Baz, how are you doing? Welcome in. Good to see you. Fast moving images. Where am I with this? What am I doing? I'm not doing any shoulder presses today, Stalker. I'm sorry. I should turn them off, really. But yeah, I'll refund you your points. Or maybe I can do them on Monday, if I remember. But I'm not sure I will remember. What am I moving there? What is that? What even is that? Source. Art. Doesn't make any sense. Right, okay. All right. Oh, damn it. I thought that the tune was going to end at the same time that I wanted to switch it up to. Wait, am I already in just chatting? Was I already in just chatting? I'll take downgrade into a Ushanka. Listen, that's too much work. I don't know how much the points are for other stuff. Wait, hang on. I can have a look at this real quickly. How much is shoulder presses? 6,000. Ushanka. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, all right. There you go, Stalker. That's what you got. Yeah, it's Ushanka time. Love that. Okay. Don't change anything. No, I'm doing it. Yeah, this is literally the first frame of the video. Let's check it out. Let's have a little look.
Video, I'm going to comprehensively document, describe, and demystify the specific hallucinatory effect known as autonomous entities.
Okay.
This will be in accordance with the pre-established documentation laid out within our comprehensive subjective effect index, and will be done without resorting to metaphors, analogies, or personal trip reports.
The comprehensive subjective effect index. Never heard of it.
To give you a better sense of the experience, I've also done my best to accompany each aspect of these descriptions with as many...
I knew there was going to be flashing images in this. I just knew it. Yeah, so there are actually flashing images in this. So yeah, just be mindful, chat. You know, if this is going to affect you. Take a cheeky hiatus from the stream, you know? Have a little break. Go do something nice and cool. But anyway.
Relevant examples of
it's already a nightmare, I know.
And visionary artwork from across the internet as possible.
Uh-huh.
So as for the effect itself, an autonomous entity can be defined as the experience of perceived contact with a hallucinatory being that appears to be sentient and autonomous in its behavior.
Okay, so I have experienced that, right? And I'll get you up to speed, right? So what was happening? I've explained it a couple of times. I experienced it a couple of times when I've been tripping. And one of the most notable experiences was when I took a bunch of shrooms. It was one of the biggest trips I've ever done. And I noticed it was like a weird little eye thing. It had an eye on it, right? And there was like fire coming off it as well. And like a spiral of weird rainbow colored, but hard to describe what color it actually was. It would just look like every color at once, basically. It was really hard to describe. It was freaking me out. And like what it did is it moved really slowly across the room. If you've ever seen Dune, the 1984 version of Dune, and it's got that like the little assassin thing, it was moving across the room like that, basically. And it was just ever so slowly coming towards my throat. And then it went there, like, you know, in my throat where my Adam's apple is. And I just felt like a very full body orgasm, basically, is what I felt. That's the only way I can fucking describe it. It felt like I was coming, but not through my cock. It was very weird. But that's the most recent experience. I haven't done drugs since then because drugs are illegal and they're very bad. I didn't know that you could take shrooms in Minecraft. No, this wasn't in Minecraft. This was in real life. I took magic mushrooms and I tripped. Okay. Welcome back, Shafiq.
This experience has a somewhat exalted reputation within the psychonaut community, and to a lesser extent, mainstream culture in general.
Don't call it that. Don't call it the psychonaut. community. Oh, that's
It is often surrounded by notions of esoteric mysticism or
like there's an implied hierarchy with that, isn't there? Like the psychonaut community, it's like, oh well, you know, we're the guys that take the drugs all the time and we know everything about them. We know everything about them, and we know the best. We're the best. Listen to us. We're smart. I don't like that.
Anecdotal assertions which clearly fall outside of standard scientific materialism. And while most famously associated with dimethyltryptamine, it is a relatively common experience at heavy dosages of a wide variety of psychedelic compounds, particularly those which are more prone to inducing hallucinatory states, such as ayahuasca, psilocybin, and mescaline.
So, psilocybin, for those of you that don't know, magic mushrooms, basically.
Now, in terms of their appearance and general presentation, autonomous entities and internal hallucinations in general are usually comprised from condensed psychedelic geometry. This is in a manner which can give them an incredibly...
That thing there is kind of... It's not... The thing that I saw didn't look like that. Exactly, but it was that kind of vibe. It was literally that kind of vibe.
Comprised from condensed psychedelic geometry. This is in a manner which can give them an incredibly complex, incomprehensible, and otherworldly aesthetic that is clearly demonstrated within the countless examples of visionary...
Back in 2014, 2015-ish, used to be somewhat of a Duncan Trussell fan who called himself a psychonaut. He was way too friendly with Rogan and even had Jordan Peterson on his podcast. No! No! That is so silly. I hate that. I literally hate it when, you know, the sad thing is that when you take psychedelics, right, you get an overwhelming sort of feeling of togetherness and oneness with the entire universe, right? That's my experience. That is the mainstay of the experience for me, right? And lots of people have different hallucinations, different other experiences and shit like that. But generally speaking, I get like an overwhelming feeling that everybody deserves to be loved and everybody is lovely and everything is nice. And if we all just worked together and loved each other, everything would be fine, right? That's generally the experience that I had with psychedelics. And then you know, it's so depressing when you find out that people like Joe Rogan have done psychedelics and you're like, oh, well, he's just a nasty bastard. You know? You've done mushrooms a number of times, can confirm at least for yourself it instilled a radical sense of empathy. It does. I would describe it as that, a radical sense of empathy. Absolutely. And it can make you cry. It can make you laugh. You know, cry with joy, cry with, you know, profound sadness or profound joy. You know, it's absolutely, yeah, it's just really good, but never ever do it because it's illegal and you'll go to prison.
Artwork shown here within this video.
Good that, innit? It's good that something that can make you feel like that is illegal. What a nice, normal world we live in.
But as for the specific forms in which they present themselves, while they can include literally anything, certain archetypes are definitely present and commonly include humans, aliens, elves, animals, giant spheres, insectoids, beings of light, plants.
I've come across weird insect things. Also, hi Sorka, how are you doing? Welcome in. Welcome in. I've definitely seen insect-like things. That's like a weird sort of situation where I had my eyes closed. I was sort of like trying to meditate while I was tripping, and I noticed like I was in like a flesh realm. If that makes sense. It was very moist. It was very wet. There were lots of like penises and vaginas flying around and like combinations of the two, and also like where they were like fucking themselves and stuff, and like guts and arms and all this stuff. Mental. And what I noticed is that in my mind's eye, like my body, where my body would be when I was looking down at it but with my eyes closed, all these little insects and weird like things with tentacles and stuff all showed up and sort of like started eating me, right? But I didn't feel scared and I didn't really feel you know, anything like that. So you say that you were in an episode of Big Mouth. No, there were no children. And there were no weird sort of sketches about children having sex that are extremely uncomfortable. Actually, there was none of that, thankfully. If it was like Big Mouth, I think I would have really not enjoyed it, just like when I watch Big Mouth, and I really don't enjoy it, and I think it was written by pedophiles. Anyway, so back to that. I think that they were sort of trying to cleanse my body of whatever's bad, right? And it just didn't feel scary. It just felt so. But they were all like, it was terrific. It was like a nightmare. It's like you say, Echo Baz. It sounds like a nightmare, but it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. You know, it was just very like. It felt like they cleaned me, like they ate all the badness. I don't know. I felt very good after it. Last time I went camping, my husband took some shrooms and saw giant spiders in the trees, and now he does not take shrooms. Yes, that's frightening. That's definitely frightening. Yeah, pengina, genitalia, pick and mix, yeah.
Robotic machines, gods and...
Why does that sound like Silent Hill to people? Does not like a bunch of penises and vaginas everywhere? Does that not sound very appealing to everyone? I guess not everyone's bisexual, are they? That's fair enough.
Demigods, biomechanical intelligences.
Okay, did someone just say demigods?
Robotic machines, gods and demigods.
How do you know that they're gods or demigods? I don't understand. How are we getting to that conclusion?
Biomechanical intelligences, anthropomorphic beings, jesters.
Oh, I know that ace people exist as well. Yeah, of course. But, you know, I imagine that some ace people are fine with the aesthetics of a vagina or a penis. Anyway, never mind.
Demons, indescribable monstrosities, spirits, angels, shamans, fantastical or mythological beasts, abstract geometric forms, and many, many more. During their apparition, autonomous entities will frequently be presented as the inhabitants of a perceived independent reality, which is often subjectively interpreted.
Psychs can interact with religious beliefs in interesting ways. I've seen a lot of talking in pagan communities about it. Here's the thing, right? I have never really felt as spiritually aware that there is such a thing as the soul and there are more things to the world than we actually know than when I've done psychedelics, right? It does make you feel like there's something else there. And I know that's because, like, you are, like, fucking with your brain and putting chemicals in it that make you see stuff and shit like that. But it does actually feel a lot deeper than that, especially with magic mushrooms, because they're sort of, maybe that's because they're natural, I don't know. You know, LSD is sort of, it's synthesized, isn't it? So maybe that's why. Like, I've done a lot of ketamine as well. I was addicted to ketamine when I was 23. And I think ketamine is like it is a psychedelic. It's more of a dissociative, but it was very interesting that on ketamine, whenever I would trip, I would be like, it felt very lonely. It felt like I was in an ocean of nothingness. Do you know what I mean? Which is just very weird. It was never like shrooms or anything like that. He once did DMT in the middle of a 100 UG LSD trip and stared at a poster of Kylo Ren and thought I might have been pledging my allegiance to the dark side, but a desktop figure of Yoda saved me. That's phenomenal. That's great work by Yoda. Appreciate that. There's spiritualism and then there's religion. I don't think so, because for a lot of people, religion is their spiritualism, and for a lot of people, spiritualism is their religion.
As a different dimension.
I don't think that there's a binary difference there.
Or plane of existence. These inhabited hallucinatory realms can include anything, but
LSD gives you deep spiritual feelings. That's fair enough. I've only ever done it once, so, you know, I can only speak from that one experience.
Include cities, temples, rooms, circuses, caverns, natural landscapes, and abstract geometric structures. And while they most commonly appear alone within these spaces,
Tilda Swinton,
also often be within small or large groups alongside of other entities, which may take similar or completely different physical forms of their own. Now, as for their response to the tripper, some entities do not seem to be aware of a person's presence, but many others are often precognizant of a person's appearance into their supposed realm, and usually choose to interact with them in various ways. For example,
nothing is binary. All things contain nuance. Correct. That's right. You could be spiritualist and not believe in concrete divine entities. Going into psychedelic trips, already believe in that whenever you get drunk, Dionysus is literally possessing you, is going to have an influence on your trip. Yeah, sure. That's fine. You can be spiritualist and not believe in concrete divine entities. You can also be spiritualist and believe in concrete divine entities. Again, like I say, it's, do you know what I mean? There's a mixture of the two. I don't really understand, like, you know, I don't like. I get that what you're trying to say is that, like, you've heard pagans be like, "Oh yeah, shit, yeah, this really made me feel great about my paganism and shit like that, and like I'm gonna worship the gods more and shit like that." Like, that's great, you know what I mean? Like, cool, good for those people, right? But I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, spirituality can absolutely be your religion. You cannot understand what the universe is, and I think personally it's hubris to try and understand or comprehend what it is. And still worship the very nature of it without there being any gods in it or whatever, right? Do you know what I mean?
They will often display behaviors such as showing a person around the realm that they inhabit,
So what are these? The mechanical elves? The little alien guys? What are we on about here? Who are these?
Interact with them in various ways.
Oh, we're just still on the introduction.
For example, they will often display behaviors such as showing a person around the realm that they
That's how I feel, Cynthia.
presenting them with objects, holding spontaneous celebrations of
No
their
gods, no
arrival,
masters. That's right. How you doing, David?
into and out of the person's body or consciousness, engaging them in conversation, and attempting to impart knowledge of various kinds.
Go follow David, everybody. I'm doing David's shout out myself.
Overall, the general appearance, personality,
That is a Tool album cover done by Alex Gray.
and behavior of an autonomous entity often correlates with the psychological state of the person experiencing it.
You could give him a shout out and all if you want, Shafiq. It's up to you. You know, he deserves it. You know. $27. If you like my politics, like his politics, like my politics, like my politics.
For example, a person with a positive
Go follow him. He's a lovely guy.
more commonly experience
All right,
loving,
famous horse. See you
kind,
later.
and healing entities. But in contrast, a person with a negative mindset may be more likely to experience hateful, sinister, and mocking entities.
I don't think that's true. I think that depending on what the trip has in store for you that day, I think that that is what's going to happen, and it doesn't matter. I don't think there's such thing as a bad trip or as a good trip. I think every trip is just like a trip, and anything can happen. I've had horrible, bizarre, weird things when I've been absolutely fine. 10,000 Days is a solid album. I love 10,000 Days. Yeah, absolutely. R.I.P. to all those people killed by the gods for their hubris. Yeah, for sure. I'll be different. I'll be better. Maybe even better than the gods. Oh my God. You be careful now. You be careful now.
It's also worth noting that when experienced within the specific context of psychedelic compounds, autonomous entities are much more likely to manifest within internal hallucinations during high-level states, rather than within
Yes, I can attest to that.
external hallucinations. This means that entity encounters primarily occur within an imagined environment that can typically only be viewed with closed eyes.
Yeah.
Similar to those found...
These are situations where I've had like... it's called closed eyes visuals rather than open eye visuals. Open eye visuals are quite rare with mushrooms, but if you do enough of them, you'll get really weird things happen. Like you might get like tracer effects if you move your head from side to side. The walls might appear to be breathing or whatever. And like one weird thing that I had is like, you know that thing that you get when you squint and it makes all the lights. If you're in a car, it makes like the lights have like lines like that. It looked like those lines were just and I was opening my eyes like as wide as I could like that, going like, is this happening? And it felt like that was happening loads. It was dead odd. It was really interesting. I find as I grow older, even as someone who is supposed is still technically an atheist, I have very little patience for people who are so pragmatic that their secularism leaves no room for spirituality. Faith and belief doesn't have to mean faith and belief in the supernatural. It can be something as broad as goodwill. And I find it hard to be optimistic about abolishing oppressive hierarchies without accepting that. Right, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Right? I think you're absolutely spot on there. You know what I mean? You can be religious about communism, right? You can be religious about anarchism, whatever you see anarchism to be, right? You can be religious about anything, actually. In fact, you can make stuff up and be religious about that. Although you've got to be careful, because when you do that and it's not backed by multiple ancient archaic societies that we definitely should have outgrown, that's called a cult. I have a family friend who's a Tibetan monk for decades now. She explicitly told me that she regularly trips while sober, which is apparently a thing. You can do that, and I know that you could do that because I've done that. And what you do is you get really, really good at Kundalini meditation by doing it every day. And in fact, there was one point in my life, and I don't talk about this regularly because people will think I'm mental, even though I am already mental. So you should just believe that anyway. I genuinely was walking around and I could feel like fucking cannons of energy coming out of my hands and coming out of my fucking, like, you know, your chakras, you align your chakra, your head, your third eye, your throat, your heart, all that. It felt like shit was going like out of there all day. And I was walking around like I was fucking floating. It was mad. That was one of the best moods I've ever been in, but it only lasted about a week because it made me very silly and lackadaisical, and I fell into like just doing a lot of drugs because I was like, yeah, drugs are good, that's fine, I'll just quit my job and do a bunch of drugs, and I did that. So there you go. It was really weird. Not like Dragon Ball Z, like just it felt like warmth. When you do Kundalini meditation, yeah, what you do is you sit there and you get very, very quiet and you do like certain sets of breathings and stuff. And then you visualize activating your chakras. And it does actually feel like, they say when you listen to the guided meditation, it says like you will feel like golden energy is, you know, passing through your body. And I don't know if that's fake. I don't know if it's like a placebo or whatever, but it does feel like that, right? And it kind of goes down, and it's that warmth that basically is like, you know, that's what it felt like coming out of. It's weird. It's so weird. But yeah, when I was doing that, I very, very vividly remember an old woman, and it's clear as day this. When I think about this memory, it's fresh in my mind like it was yesterday. And this is like 10 years ago, 11 years ago or something, right? And it was like a very broad sort of like desert with some mountains in the background, and there was like a purple sky with stars in it, and like an old woman came walking towards me away from like a campfire, right? An old woman, she was wearing like a tartan throw or something and like a blue dress, and she had grey hair and like olive skin, darker skin, and she came towards me and she was like, she just like went like that, and I felt like something passed through me in real life. It was it was so weird. It was so weird. But it was really cool, and it felt like, again, a similar kind of feeling to like when I said that the thing came towards my throat. Similar feeling to that, but not quite like having an orgasm. So there you go. People who are just tuning in are like, what the fuck is happening? People who are just tuning in are like, this is the weirdest stream I've ever seen. What the fuck is this guy talking about? Do I need to, you know, get him some help? You don't need to get me some help. I've had enough help, and it doesn't work. So there you go. Good night, Cryptid. Thanks so much for being here. See you later. Scribble Hearts, how you doing? Welcome in. Good to see you. What else to get? I'm smarter than all these religious people. Kind of atheist gets really under my skin. Yeah, that stuff sucks. Yeah, I do agree. There's two different things. Skidadia says, I could agree to an extent. I had a trip once where I was convincing yourself you were the Antichrist. The only thing that saved me was fighting it with, shh, don't listen, you're tripping balls right now. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you know, you might have gone into that situation feeling completely mentally positive, right? I will wear the trendy flat cap. I will do that. I've got it in the other room, though, so here's the video again.
Within dreams. So, although psychedelic entities can sometimes still present themselves as seamlessly appearing within one's external environment as if they were physically present, for the majority of people, it is generally a much rarer occurrence.
Is that not just a video game?
Now, in terms of their overall visibility, presence, and clarity, entities can manifest themselves across 3 approximate levels of increasing intensity.
This is hard stuff.
Level 1, vaguely defined presence. At the lowest level, autonomous entities generally consist of poorly defined outlines and abstract shapes that are barely distinguishable from the background behind them and the geometry which they are comprised of.
I've seen a lot of that.
These encounters are still often accompanied by a distinct feeling of a sensed presence of an...
Your granddad had a similar cap. Well, so did mine. And I've got it right here. I had another one from my other granddad who also had one as well. But I've lost that. I don't know where it is, unfortunately.
Another conscious being. Level 2, partially defined presence.
That's the same one as your granddad's. Yeah, they're all
At this level,
same. Yeah.
Autonomous entities become distinctly visible within one's visual field, but are not fully defined in their appearance or entirely separated from their background. At this point, it also becomes more common to feel a sense of general intent and personality attributed to the entity.
Hell yeah, Husker, let's go.
Level 3, fully defined presence. At this level, the autonomous entities become distinct enough in their detail and vividness to extend beyond transparent or poorly defined manifestations. They are now capable of a completely convincing and photorealistic appearance, and their general behavior also becomes far more detailed and lifelike.
That's definitely what the eye thing was like that I was telling you about. God, magic mushrooms are so good, man. But don't you ever do them!
Communication styles. Autonomous entities can communicate with a person through a wide range of different methods and styles. These styles can include any combination of standard spoken word, telepathy, conceptual thoughts, choreographed movements, mathematics, and even geometry-based visual linguistics that generally consist of complex...
Back when I was into research chems, I wanted to try DOM because in PCAL, I've got the book, PCAL, the Alexander Shulgin directory thing. It has the glory and the doom sealed up in it. All that is needed to release it is to wrap it in a warm living human for a few hours. For that human, for those hours, all the dark things are made clear. And all trip reports legit have super beautiful and super horrible parts. That sounds fucking well intense. That sounds so intense.
Morphing structures that are immediately interpreted as innately
yeah, I've got a few mates who are aphantasic, but I've never spoken to them about they've either not done shrooms or whatever. I believe people with aphantasia can experience like the feelings of what you get in shrooms and stuff like that, but that would be really interesting.
Understandable representations of specific concepts.
You got that, birdie,
As for
yeah.
the content of their messages, entities will commonly provide insights regarding overcoming personal issues within a person's life, and will occasionally help clarify philosophical or spiritual ideas. In contrast, however...
It's so weird that they say this, right? Because it's like, every time I've done shrooms and shit, right? It does feel like a bunch of people are telling you stuff. Like, not just like random things. It feels like they're telling you, like, I've come out of trips and I've had the overwhelming feeling that I've just been told that I'm doing everything right and you're on the right path. And it was very comforting. Do you know what I mean?
However, they are equally likely to speak in a cryptic or nonsensical
You never had
manner
visuals on a
that
trip?
seems to have no clear meaning behind.
Have you tried like closing your eyes and like looking with your mind's eye and stuff like that, Shafiq?
It.
Or are you on about just open eye
It's
visuals?
also
Never had it.
important to note that autonomous entities can seemingly never convey truly novel information to the person experiencing them.
Right.
For example, they cannot provide insights about the external world that a person did not already know on some level. Instead, they can only provide alternative perspectives and help build upon pre-existing ideas.
That's not necessarily true, because I know people who've done so much DMT that I'm surprised they can even operate still, right? And they've told me things like, yeah, I was like speaking to this guy and he was trying to tell me about how the universe works, and every time he tried to understand it, my brain would just, like, he was using sounds and colors and everything, and like I just couldn't understand it. So I don't think that's quite true. I know that there are some people who've said that they've seen stuff like that and they were like desperately trying to tell someone about like space travel and shit, and they were like trying to tell them, and like they're just so high they just can't fucking understand it, basically.
This is presumably because autonomous entities do not have access to any knowledge not already contained within the
streams of 5-HO
or
DMT.
subconscious
Ah,
memories.
okay, got you. Wonder what it does for people who've been blind at birth. I've heard people give pretty
Personality type.
similar trip reports for being blind at birth, because blind people do have some, like, you know, a mind's eye and stuff, you know? Shit like that. Eyes open and eyes closed you've never had. Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
Types. As far as I can tell, at least, autonomous entities.
It is like over secularizing tripping. It is like, this is why I didn't like the fact that this person was like, oh, we are psychonauts, a community of psychonauts. It's like, you know.
These will often embody at least one of a few approximate personality types that I have done my best at attempting to categorize. Although there is admittedly considerable overlap between them, these personality types can sometimes be identified primarily through a combination of their behavior, their appearance, and an innate sense of their character that is often felt during the interaction. These individual types are broken down.
That eye right there is kind of like the one that I saw. Like that, it's like, it looked exactly like that, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? It looked exactly like that eye. The ones on the green sort of, can you see my mouse, chat? I don't think you can see my mouse, can you? The ones on like the green bits, like that's exactly what I saw. It looked exactly like that. And I know it just looks like an eye, but it's the way that there's stuff around it and shit. And I don't know, anyway.
And described within the following 4 approximate categories.
Belief in an objective reality is a subjective idea, I agree.
Representations of characters.
Blind people wouldn't be able to see anything, no mind's eye, since they have no reference of what seeing things is like. That's incredibly incorrect. If you speak to blind people, they'll correct you on that.
This personality type can be described as a seemingly sentient representation of any hallucinatory character that the brain has either spontaneously generated.
If a blind person says that, it's probably most likely because they've got aphantasia
during the trip, or was already aware of at a prior time. These entities can include newly hallucinated characters of any sort, people that the person has met in real life, people that the person is aware of as existing in the real world, or characters from fictional media.
Is it true for people who've been blind since birth? I can't remember if the person that I heard had said that about being blind from birth, but I think it is. It depends on the formation of their brain based on when, if they became blind. I don't know, maybe. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is that. I think that like, you know, it'd be good to like actually like just hear that stuff from a blind person rather than just guessing what it is based on what we think it might be like to be blind. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Do you see what I'm getting at? Right. Realizing that the concept of objective reality is deeply subjective, what got you to reconsider atheism? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
These entities will usually adopt an appropriate personality and set of mannerisms to fit the chosen character concept with an impressive degree of detail. An example of this might be meeting an insectoid mantis-like creature that is playing the role of a shamanic teacher and acting accordingly. Another might include meeting the hallucination of a deceased loved one.
You got a really strong deja vu. Something significant happened in your life just now, Stalker.
Or a currently living family friend. Representations of ideas and concepts. This personality type can be described as a seemingly sentient representation of any known concept or idea. These specific concepts could include personified representations of abstract ideas, events, and emotions. An example of this might be meeting a mocking jester that feels and acts as if it represents one's own insecurities. Another might include meeting a clockwork being that feels as if it represents entropy and the inevitable passing of time.
Right. Listen, Scribbleheart says in the chat, oh, for sure, that's why I look it up and absorb the knowledge and share the info, right? Now, I'm not mad at you. I just want to tell you, right, what's happened there. So you've said, you know, blind people, they wouldn't be able to see anything, no mind's eye, since they have no reference of what seeing things is like. And then I've said to you, maybe we should listen to what blind people say about their own experiences. And then you've responded by saying that you do that, actually. But the first thing that comes up, if I Google, do blind people from birth have a mind's eye? The first thing that comes up is an article from an education, I guess it's a journal, educational journal, that says, yes, they can. Right? With aphantasia, no. Yeah, but you didn't say that initially, did you? You said blind people wouldn't be able to see anything. We've already established that aphantasia is when you don't have a mind's eye. We were already talking about that. So just wanted to point that out to you.
Time.
I'd be pissed if I went on a trip and all I saw was the anxiety clown. You don't have to apologize. It's fine. You've not really done anything wrong. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, this is what you have to remember. It's like, if you're saying that that's what you do you know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, because the reason that I'm sort of saying this about, you know, blind people having a mind's eye is because I've heard blind people say that, right? And, you know what I mean? So when I hear you say that, and I think, well, I have heard blind people say that, it kind of gaslights me into thinking that, like, well, maybe I'm wrong. So double check it. And it's like, oh, I am actually right. You know what I mean? Googling still isn't really listening to blind people. It isn't. But again, as I say, I've heard blind people say that as well. And if it's sort of double referenced, you know, with Google and an article and an educational journal site, then I'd say that that's pretty good. Pretty good evidence, isn't it? Right?
Representations of the subconscious. This personality
yeah, no worries,
type can
Scribbles,
take
yeah.
any visible form, but is subjectively interpreted as the autonomous controller behind the continuous generation of the details of the person's current experience. This entity is also often felt to simultaneously control one's current perspective, personality, and internally stored model of reality. When interacted with, this category of entity can often possess abilities that allow them to directly alter and manipulate one's current experiences.
Yep.
In terms
definitely
of their motives,
say that.
They commonly want to teach or guide the person and will seemingly operate under the assumption that they know what is best for them. However, although a relatively common experience, it still cannot be known whether this type of autonomous entity is genuinely an experience of directly communicating with the so-called subconscious mind, and what that would even mean if it were the case, or if it is perhaps merely a hallucinatory approximation that simply behaves in a convincing manner. Representations of the self. This personality type can be described as a direct copy of one's own personality. It can take any visible form, but when conversed with, it clearly adopts an identical vocabulary and set of mannerisms to one's own consciousness. This entity will often take on a similar appearance to oneself, but could theoretically take on any other appearance too. During this experience, there is also a distinct feeling that one's own
You know, Prince Infidel and Sorka both just said the same thing at the same time, right? And I love that. That's fucking great. Prince Infidel says, I think some people really need to sort powerful experiences into a scientific-ish realm, because otherwise they feel the powerful thing isn't real. Like the other side of people who say scientifically explaining things in nature takes away their beauty. Right, exactly. And Sorka's like, I hate that this video isn't even slightly considering the spiritual, right? Which is not exactly the same thing, but pretty similar, like, you know, both came out with that at the same time.
Consciousness is somehow being mirrored and duplicated
Love that.
into the hallucinated autonomous
Also, high person type thing. To lighten the mood a little, I once accompanied a party of visually impaired people on a scenic train trip to Scotland. It was so foggy and rainy, we were all in the same boat carriage the whole way. Fucking hell, that sounds absolutely shit.
Interacted with.
Seiko Akumachi, welcome to the stream. This kind of reminds me about a literature thesis I read about how movies usually picture madness as seeing something incomprehensible when it's briefly understanding something you shouldn't. Like an ant understanding the concept of a circuit board for half a second and then having to return to just being an ant. I saw that the other day, but it was like a Tumblr post. So if that is actually like a literature thesis, that's pretty smart. But I saw that same thing about the ant the other day, and it was just in a Tumblr post, so yeah. Madness. But welcome into the stream, how you doing?
Okay, so to wrap this video up, and at risk of alienating a certain subsection of my audience, I would just like to make a few points regarding the beliefs which commonly surround psychedelic entities, and my personal opinion on those viewpoints.
That's Eldritch Horror, yeah, that's what it is.
So within the psychonauts community and DMT users in particular, autonomous entities are commonly viewed as one of the most captivating aspects of the psychedelic experience.
Yeah, I'd say so.
They are often shrouded in esoteric mystery, to the point that a significant portion of the people who encounter them will go as far as asserting that these experiences are not simply fabrications of the mind, but rather beings from another world that exists independently of the human brain.
It's coming now. It's coming now. She's going to be like, you're all stupid for having a religious experience on psychedelics. What an absolute idiot you are. Gosh, you thought that your brain, that there's anything good out there, anything, more to the universe than we don't already understand. No, you're stupid. Stop being a stupid idiot. We know everything, and you don't need to try to tell me what is going on here. Sorry, shut up, you're wrong. Love that.
This is a viewpoint that was originally popularized in mainstream culture by the likes of Terence McKenna, who famously theorized that the machine elves he encountered under the influence of DMT were either extraterrestrial in nature, interdimensional beings from a higher plane of existence, time-traveling humans from the future, or an arcology of souls that apparently includes both our ancestors.
That is definitely what the eye looked like. The eye that went into it. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about it.
Ancestors and those who have yet to be born. As far as I can tell, the most common reasonings behind this viewpoint are that the experience of encountering these entities is often interpreted as feeling more realistic and well-defined than that of any sober experience the person has ever had. Alongside this, there is often a sense that the encounter itself is so incomprehensibly complex and otherworldly that there is simply no possible way that the human brain could generate such an experience on its own. In regards to this particular notion, it is then sometimes asserted that consciousness must be an antenna of sorts that receives either all or some of its subjective experiences from that of an unknown interdimensional source. Furthermore, the source of this received input is sometimes said to be adjustable depending on the person's brain state, with substances such as psychedelics simply tuning our consciousness into the analogous equivalent of a different radio station or TV channel. This is an idea that was once again further popularized by Terence McKenna, who was famously quoted as saying, "I don't believe consciousness is generated in the brain any more than television programs are made inside my TV. The box is too small." Now, while I can personally empathize with the reasons that some people may be drawn into these conclusions after the often earth-shattering experience of a DMT trip or of a high-level psychedelic experience, I do not personally believe that autonomous entities are anything more than the profound but ultimately hallucinated products of the subconscious mind.
Like, why do you care so much about that? Like, how... do you know what I mean? It's just like, you know... I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, even if, right, to some degree, it's just a person trying to rationalize, you know, their place in the universe, which is, of course, an extremely small, terrible, etc., you know, terrifying notion and stuff like that. You know, so we're trying to rationalize it and say that, oh, well, there must be a God, there must be something else and stuff like that. Even if that's what people are doing, so what? It's not dangerous to believe that. It isn't. Like, you're not hurting anyone unless you're trying to, like, force it on other people in horrible, abusive ways, right? And all that stuff. You know, it just doesn't affect you, so there's no need. It is just like, it's like hierarchy. It's so funny, right? It's so fucking funny. That basically, I said at the start of this video, it sounds like someone who's trying to establish a hierarchy. Like, we are the top of this hierarchy of understanding psychedelic stuff, right? We know everything about it. We're going to do everything like that. This, that, and the other. It's just ridiculous. Smutty Baby Aga says, I've never done psychedelics. I find these images super unsettling and not enjoyable at all. Is this what you all really see? And it's positive experience when you see this kind of thing. Right. So, you know, before when I was saying I just saw like a flesh. I was in like a flesh dimension. Right? Listen, chat. Don't bother engaging with the person who just got banned. There's no point. Don't bother. Don't give them any fucking attention. That's all they fucking want. They're desperate to make me care about what fucking idiots think about me, but I don't care. All I care about is my stream, my community, educating you all on what's going on, and having a little laugh and watching psychedelic videos and taking them all together too seriously, to the point where it becomes tedious and unenjoyable. So that's what we do here, right? That's what's going on. So don't bother. If someone comes in, if it's your other garden variety chud, fine, take the piss, do whatever you want, but don't bother. Don't bother engaging with them. They're not fucking worth it.
Instead, I am quite sure that
Mum said you have to debate me, that's right.
Equivalent of the various characters and beings that most people commonly encounter within their dreams. Although it could be argued that autonomous entities are too characteristically different from that of dream characters to possibly be a result of the same neurological processes, I think that these differences in their appearance and behavior are largely the result of the many other psychedelic.
So, like, yeah, as I was saying, like in the fucking flesh, I was trying to explain Smutty Baba Yaga. In like the flesh realm that I was in, yeah, right. It was terribly, right? Do you know what I mean? It was terribly like, wow, all of this is frightening as fuck, and it feels good. So that's what it is, really. So what kind of happens, you know, when you relax into the trip is that you don't feel scared by stuff, because if you know it's a trip, right, you're like, okay, everything that happens in my mind's eye is a bit silly. And also, you could just open your eyes and that stuff goes away. You know. So it's fine. Who says neurological behavior isn't the behavior of spirit? Right, who knows? Who fucking knows? Again, it's hubris to say that we understand all the stuff in the universe. I guess this person also thinks NDEs are just imaginary wankery. What's an NDE? I don't know what that is. I did miss you, DJ Mule, enough to delve a little, but it all felt a bit bilgy. Just glad to see you back. You're right. It is a cesspit of disgusting, horrible stuff. and it's horrible. You're right. But it's stuff that we have to actually, you know, address in the community. Oh, near-death. Yeah. Near-death experience. Right. Yeah. So near-death experience, there's like, you know, people talk about like end-of-life experiences. And what's really interesting, yeah, is that this stuff kind of happens with people who don't know that they're dying. So you'll get like someone who has developed a tumor or something like that, and they've not reported it to the doctor because they're just like, oh, whatever, you know, this, that, and the other. And they'll have like near-death experiences. Not even near-death experiences, like end-of-life experiences. It's so bizarre. There was a program on Netflix about it called Surviving Death. And it was really interesting, just like actually like sort of categorizing this stuff and laying out, because it also included some stuff that's obviously stupid as well. Like there was some mediums in that program. I've spoken about it on the stream before because, as everybody knows, I believe in ghosts. And that is the main reason that you should discount everything that I say. I am an idiot for believing in ghosts, even if my belief in ghosts is purely analytical and extremely critical, especially of people like mediums who fake stuff, and also charlatans who fake stuff on the internet and in certain TV shows. But essentially, right, I was watching this show, and it's really good. Like they show you these mediums, and they kind of show them in a very unbiased way, right? And in this unbiased way that they show mediums, you actually come to the conclusion yourself that like they're just making it up. They're just making it up. They've sort of Facebooked you and stuff like that. Some of them were pretty convincing, right? You would be like, oh yeah, for sure. But like then you think about like, well, we live in the age of Facebook and we live in the age of Twitter and all stuff like that. And there's all social media of everybody's life everywhere. So you could just, if you were a medium, if you were getting paid for that, you wouldn't actually feel like you were wasting any time in like obsessively looking up someone's details in the past on the social media posts, would you? Do you know what I mean?
Psychedelic effects that are simultaneously occurring during these encounters. The most notable of which is geometry, which causes the hallucination to be comprised of the otherworldly shapes and patterns that provide autonomous entities with their distinctly hyperspatial aesthetic. Alongside of this,
holy shit, no fucking way, Cynthia. An NDE brought your trans identity that you locked up deep inside your conscious, forgot about it, brought it back to light. Wow. That fucking rocks.
Other subjective effects such as synesthesia, machinescapes, recursion, time distortion, and transpersonal states can all potentially synergize into an experience that is easy to misinterpret as something occurring outside of the human mind.
Okay, we've heard your nonsense. Crack on.
In my personal opinion, if autonomous entities were truly something that exists beyond the human mind, I think there would likely be at least a single verifiable case of them conveying information.
Shut the fuck up! Verifiable case? What do you mean? We are talking about someone's... You cannot expect... How can... I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry. But a trip is something that only you see. You can't share it. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can have instances where, like, you know, someone will look at you and go, you're thinking about that, aren't you? And you're like, oh my God, yeah, I am. What the fuck? Right? I've had situations like that when I've been tripping where people have literally had telepathic experiences, and it's just so weird. Maybe that's something else. I don't know. But other than that, yeah, it's just so ridiculous to say that, like, oh, well, you know, you'd need to verify it. How can you verify somebody else's trip? You can't do that. You know?
To a person that they did not already know or could not have come to the conclusion of within that moment.
That's a really good way of looking at it, Morty. I think if spiritual stuff is anything at all, it's the stuff that can't be commodified or turned into technology because it's entirely on the other end of experience. Yeah, I think you're right.
This would also likely be testable to some degree, which has led myself and my close friends to casually experiment
with Ingo, what's going on?
DMT entities a variety of questions over the years. These questions have included math problems, metaphysical questions, philosophical questions, and queries pertaining to their general nature as beings inhabiting their particular world.
Right, but if you're coming at it from the angle that, like, oh, well, this is all just stuff that's in your head anyway, then if you were biased against the idea and skeptical of the idea that these beings are like, you know, anything other than projections of your own mind, then you would know the answer to that and you would make the beings say that answer. There would be no scenario where the being would turn around and be like, actually, I don't know that. Because you know the answer.
However, each attempt at doing so has resulted in the entities simply ignoring the question, arrogantly scoffing at the absurdity of us asking them such a trivial thing, or replying with vague, ambiguous wording that the person's own mind could have easily come up with.
What? Okay. Which is why you'll never prove any of it, but you can experience it directly in a way that is more real than anything else. Yeah, I agree. I just think that was such a stupid sort of like, yeah, well, you know, we proved that actually they're just figmentations of your own mind because they got really angry when we asked them those questions. Right? How helpful are these entities if they just confirm one's own biases? But it doesn't even sound like it confirms their own biases, because at the end of the day, they're literally just like being like, why are you asking me that question? That's ridiculous. Right, arrogantly scoffing. Yeah, you went up to like a god or like whatever, this like, you know, being that's come to you to try and like, you know, give you some advice about life, the universe and everything. And it got mad when you asked it a simple maths question. And so, you know, that means that they're all fake and actually they're just fragment. You know, you would get annoyed if you were like a being of pure light and you came down to like impart some wisdom on someone who's taking part in what is known as, in many cultures around the world, an actual like spiritual act. Like taking of psychedelic plants was mostly seen as like a psychedelic act, right? And not psychedelic, a spiritual act. And you'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, they're not here to commune with the gods. They're here to like do some other shit, you know?
This has even been the case when the entities are...
Something from outside of material reality would have little frame of reference to begin with. Exactly, right.
...are presenting themselves as vastly more complex, knowledgeable, and powerful than the humans that they are interacting with. Now, just to clarify, while I do believe that autonomous entities are a result of a similar process to that of dream characters, I also don't want to be reductive and downplay the often overwhelmingly profound nature of this experience. For example, within the moment that entities are presenting themselves, I believe that to varying degrees they are genuinely conscious agents that the brain is simulating alongside our own. It does not seem unreasonable to me that if the brain can simulate one conscious agent during everyday sobriety, that in certain extenuating circumstances, such as mental illnesses, dream states, and hallucinogenic experiences, it could also temporarily allocate resources into simultaneously simulating other conscious agents. I also think it's sort of interesting to consider that many autonomous entities would pass the Turing test if interviewed, and I find this particularly fascinating in conjunction with the knowledge that entities also commonly present themselves as representative embodiments of various aspects of the subconscious mind, which suggests to me that at least to some extent, this experience may therefore allow people to directly interact with and communicate with various facets of their consciousness in a manner that would otherwise be entirely impossible without the use of hallucinogenic substances.
I mean, if that's how you want to look at it, far be it from me to tell you that it's bollocks, right? Whatever you want. Whatever you fucking want.
If you've made it this far into the video...
Okay, listen. If you like that video, go and show the creator some love. Called Josie Kins. There you go. You know, some people might have enjoyed that. Get it liked, get it shared, give it a rewatch, you know, all that stuff. But if you don't, please don't be mean. There's no need, and it doesn't get anyone anywhere. Even if you just feel like you're just like properly, you know, asking questions, right? Don't bother getting involved. There's no point. Look, I'm a pretty skeptical person, but this person keeps saying things based on their own speculation as scientific conclusions rather than bringing up any kind of testing or rigor. Thank you. Right, the initial idea that this person is categorizing, or that there is an agreed scientific categorization of these entities and stuff like that, right, is actually, it's just wrong. Like, they don't have any of that. Like, they're talking about it based on something that doesn't really exist. Like, there's definitely a lot of trip reports out there, right? You know? That thing about the brain simulating multiple entities checks out, since there's literally plural people out there. Yeah, but I think if you speak to plural people, they will say that they are, like, you know, definitely two separate people that are just part of the same, and they're in the same body. So, you know, there's also that too. And it's really not right and a bit problematic to kind of like try and convince them that that's not the case, right? I yelled at Biden when he wasn't my president, and then the Secret Service hauled me away. Proves that Biden is fake. Yeah, true. Absolutely true. You suck, Tanky. That's right. I do suck. Your dad's cock. And he sucked mine as well. It was very nice. It would be hard to prove either point of view, since we're dealing with beings outside of normal reality. Exactly. It makes sense that there's a hypersocial monkey that can do a mini sim of other people's general behaviors, like arguing with someone in the shower. Yeah. It does. I wonder how much thought got put into that insult. A lot of those people don't actually have to think, because they just get told what to think, and then that's it. They just say the things that they've been told to think. So there you go. Right. Listen, chat. It's a meaningless word, but for mule of all people, I know, yeah, it's extremely funny. Extremely funny. Yes, I definitely supported the communists when they sent tanks to... Oh, what was the country? What was the country? Damn it, I failed at being a tanky. Fuck. What was that? What was that? What was the country that they... Hungary. Thanks. Right. Oh, God. Well. Here we are, chat. Here we are. We're 3 hours into the stream. And that is now... means that it's time for the end. But I would ask you to please stick around, because as per usual, we're going to go and raid somebody. Thank you so much for all the donos today. It's cool. We're up to £425.69. Unfortunately, we've not hit the dono goal for the end of the month. That's fine. Couldn't really ask you to do that because I've been away for most of the month. And of course, you know, you've probably spent your money on other things and shit like that. Or you might not be financially capable to support the stream. Either of which is completely understandable and fine. So don't feel bad. However... I'd die laughing if you sucked my dad's cock consensually. He's such a massive bigot. Well, I mean, you know, it's never actually want to do that, because I don't know what that's, you know, what that person's dad is like. It's just a joke, because generally speaking, these people are queerphobes, right? You know. Anyway, listen, we're gonna raid someone. I'd love it if you stuck around for a bit so that we can send a whole big bunch of people over to the stream. We're gonna go and check out one of my cool friends from Twitch that's really cool and awesome and based, and I love him very much. Let's have a look at which one of those, because there's lots of them. It is today. We are gonna go and raid. Good God, there's so many people live. Who are we gonna raid? Oh, Jesus Christ. So many people. Toasty? Oh my God, yeah, Toasty is doing a hot chip challenge, 24-hour subathon. So that's going to be fucking interesting. It's lovely being back. It's lovely to have you all back. It is extremely lovely. So listen, gang, we're going to go and raid Toasty. Toasty is an absolutely wonderful streamer. You'll really enjoy her content, I promise you. There's the raid messages. Copy and paste those into the chat. There we go. Right. fun as always. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Like I say, thank you for all the subs. Thank you for all the bits. Thank you for all the other stuff. The donos, thank you just for being here. And I will see you on Sunday for Red Planet. Red Planet is, as far as I'm concerned, sorted for this week. So it should be happening, but always check out the Twitter to make sure that we are actually streaming on that date. If we're not, the next week is actually definitely confirmed on the 9th of October. We've got people definitely doing that. So we'll see you then for that. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out. I'll see you in a bit. Mwah! Stay excellent to each other in peace. No.